Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. This Uchiha wants to return to his ancestor Otsuki. Chapter 41. Time flies, a month has passed. During this period of time, Uchiha Yuan fully let himself relax. After returning from the Kingdom of the Sea, part of the petrification of the left hand has not yet healed. What's more, during this period of time, there were very few newly assigned experimental research tasks, and even the Orochimaru class seldom went to the laboratory. Uchiha Yuan simply asked Orochimaru for leave and lived a leisurely holiday life. What Grandma Obito told him about adopting a girl back was not just words. More than half a month ago, the old man brought back a little girl named Izumi Uchiha. Then, Uchiha Fuchi's family status -1. But these are not things that Uchiha Yuan is interested in. The Third Ninja World War is drawing to a close, but the situation in the ninja world is still turbulent. As a veteran ninja, Uchiha's intelligence ability is naturally not bad. Uchiha Yuan also learned some key information about the 5 great ninja villages from Shisuko. In Konoha, Hiruzuru Sarutobi, who regained the throne of Hokage, was assassinated outside the village. Although the murderer was unsuccessful, his identity has not been confirmed so far. Earlier, the peace talks between Konoha and Yennian hosted by him were temporarily shelved because of different voices from Yennian. For this reason, Konoha sent many spies to Iwane. As the war against Union has not yet ended, this is undoubtedly the cloud of war weighing on Konoha ninja. As for Sand Yin, he calmed down after the Battle of Kikyo Mountain. Taking advantage of the short period of peace, Sand Yin completed the seal of the one-tailed crane. It is said that Jinchuriku was also a baby. I don't know who copied whose idea for the 4th Hokage and Cage, or whether this kind of inhumane behavior has existed since ancient times. On the other hand, Kurigakure, the internal strife in the past month wants to beat out his brains, but the voices against the internal strife in the village are getting louder and louder. When Zishui told the information, he was very clear. From time to time, I also carry my own thinking. In this regard, Uchiha Yuan has always been encouraging. Of course, during this period of time, Uchiha Yuan did not relax his practice. It is normal behavior to exercise daily necessary body skills, powerful fireball skills and 3 body skills. Whether it's monitoring the Anbu of the Uchiha clan, or tracking the Anbu of the 3rd generation of Uchiha Yuan, what they see is just an ordinary normal chunin. 3 generations of Hokage are naturally happy to see these. But in the dead of night, Uchiha Yuan used the high-speed learning ability acquired after fusing the golem gene to master all the forbidden ninjutsu that had been cut off. Of course, this is just a preliminary study. As for the effect practice of ninjutsu, there is also special training for actual combat. Under the conditions at this stage, Uchiha Yuan cannot proceed. In addition, some ninjutsu such as Wooden Dungeon, Izanaki, Izanami, Mutual Detonation Talisman, Transfer Seal, etc. require blood succession limit or additional summoning materials. Even if Uchiha Yuan understands the spell, he won't be able to perform it in a short time. Among these techniques, what he values most is the multiple shadow clone. In Uchiha Yuan's opinion, it is worth trying to use clones to perform different ninjutsu forbidden techniques and fight each other to quickly accumulate actual combat experience. But because of being watched, he was not in a hurry to try. Therefore, Uchiha Yuan can only spend a lot of time reviewing the details of ninjutsu learning. On this day, Uchiha Fuchi, who was meditating with his eyes closed, was suddenly awakened by a cold and sharp voice. "Yuan, Master Orochimaru summoned you guys." "Understood, thank you Linwan." Throwing the jerky to the psychic beast of the teacher Orochimaru, Uchiha Yuan quietly watched the other party eat. In Linwan's eyes, among the members of Orochimaru's class, the young man in front of him was the most pleasing to the eye. There is always jerky to eat, and it is very polite. Therefore, Rinmaru doesn't mind telling Uchiha Fuchi some irrelevant news. Oshimaru-sama is in a good mood recently, and it is said that he is going to travel to the country of the sea. Uchiha Yuan nodded silently, watching Rinmaru dissipate with a bang. Teacher Orochimaru is going to the country of the sea. Uchiha Fuchi knows that if the timeline remains unchanged, the blood successor ninja Junmaro who originally lived in Kurigakure will become Orochimaru's subordinate a few years later, and Onido Suigetsu, who masters the secret technique of hydration, will also be imprisoned by him. It seems that teacher Orochimaru is no longer satisfied with Konoha's research conditions. It's just, what is he calling the Orochimaru squad to do now? After losing the 5th Hokage, the so-called political investment has lost its meaning in the eyes of Orochimaru. This is also the reason why everyone in Orochimaru class, including Uchiha Yuan, rarely went to the laboratory again. As students, they understand the cruelty of their teachers, and Orochimaru also knows the value of their students. This unique teacher-student relationship is rare in the ninja world. Uchiha Yuan felt that the current Orochimaru would not have any dangerous thoughts. Although the teacher is cruel, he has not completely degenerated to the point of playing with the lives of his subordinates at will. But the teacher Orochimaru has already developed a strong interest in himself, and criticizing snakes madly may not cause some moths. Uchiha Fuchi greeted Fuyu through Shisui, and the latter even arranged for an elite duty team to patrol nearby just in case. After some preparations, Uchiha Yuan was the last one to arrive. On the Hokage Rock, the wind was cold and black clouds were rolling in. It is the deep winter season. Yuanjin, why are you late this time? This time, Hyuga Ryo didn't receive any weird instructions from Orochimaru, and spoke with a smile. HMPH, this guy Yuan is late every time, and he doesn't even bother to find an excuse, it's too bad. Hongdu will never let go of any chance to taunt seniors. Perhaps there is something urgent. The substitute teacher, Kurama Zion, said with a smile. Teacher, is there a new task for calling us this time? Uchiha Yuan changed the subject. No, I want to stay in the country of the sea for a long time and be responsible for monitoring the movements of Wuyin village. Although as the commander, the village has already arranged special manpower. It's you, are you interested in performing missions in the kingdom of the sea? When he said this, Orochimaru had a strange expression, and his vertical pupils were full of softness and madness. These two opposing emotions should have contradicted each other and fused into a chaotic emotional storm. But the 4 people in Orochimaru's class can see clearly. In fact, they don't dislike the teacher-student relationship with Orochimaru. But from the details of the experimental task, they finally had some guesses about what their teacher would do. That is the taboo, the fear of the unknown. It is this kind of taboo and fear that makes them vigilant at this moment. The cold wind howled, and the first snow arrived as promised. Orochimaru reached out to take it, and looked down at the ice crystals flickering in his palm. It's okay, after all, it's safer to stay in the village. It's rare to meet some students with similar personalities to me. These are for you. Orochimaru handed over the 4 exquisite wooden boxes to the students and left instantly. Hongdu opened his mouth to say something, but there was no sound in the end. Orochimaru has always raised her as a daughter, but she is already 12 years old, and she has already understood a lot of right and wrong in the ninja world and the village. Several people were silent, until Hyuga Ling opened his eyes and looked in the direction of the east gate of the village. In the snow all over the sky, the carriage dragging the luggage moved forward. This time, Dashimaru brought a lot of people. Except for the 4 students, he has many fans in the village. Those guys were just as edgy and crazy as he was. The teacher really took all the experimental materials away, the village really can't accommodate the teacher. It may not be that the village can't accommodate Mr. Oshimaru, maybe the teacher has his own ideas. Uchiha Yuan understood that when Orochimaru took away all the research equipment and materials, his attitude was already very clear. He is not only a crazy scientific research genius, but also a rare revolutionary among Konoha ninjas. Arm Konoha with technology. When he helped Heima and other ninja monks in the Temple of Fire to create imitation Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Orochi-an does have the idea of becoming the 5th Hokage. After all, becoming Hokage has enough convenience, whether it is taboo research or policy implementation. But in the mission of the country of the sea, Danzo and Orochimaru had disagreements. Orochimaru believes in power, specially taught Uchiha Yuan, and even prepared Jinchuriki, intending to subdue Sanwei to weaken Kurigakure's deterrence. In contrast, Danzo is better at tactics. He took advantage of the political crisis of the 3 generations of Mizukage and the resistance of the blood successor family to successfully promote the internal strife in Kurigakure. The goal of the two is the same, to weaken Kurigakure's strength, protect Konoha, and prepare political capital for becoming the 5th generation of Hokage. There is only one ninja who could become the 5th Hokage. At the beginning of the mission, Danzo sent ninjas to attack Uchiha Yuan, precisely to beat Orochimaru. But Orochimaru has its own preparations. As long as you seal and control the three-tailed Jinchuriki, even if you become the three-tailed Jinchuriki yourself, I still have the hope of becoming the 5th Hokage. After all, apart from Iwakage and Kurigakure, the relationship between Shiriki and Kage is not too bad. But at the moment when Uchiha Fuchi's soul was swallowed by Sano Aisu, Orochimaru realized that he had lost the qualification to compete for the 5th Hokage. After returning to Ninja Village, he saw scenes of ugly dramas of the village's senior management. Hokage assistant Danzo thought that no one knew about the assassination, and the teacher Sandame exchanged things that belonged to Uchiha in exchange for a vote of confidence. Even if it becomes the 5th generation of Hokage, can that kind of taboo research really go on smoothly? Since the establishment of the village, with a history of more than 50 years, Konoha has a rich heritage and can even resist the other 4 major ninja villages with the power of one village. However, due to the war situation in recent years, Konoha has become more and more stretched, and was even beaten to the gate of the village last time. Now that we have to stand still, isn't Konoha going to make any changes except for the establishment of medical ninjas? Dashimaru was disappointed, but also had a brand new excitement. Kurigakure's blood succession boundary. This is the harvest in the mission of the Kingdom of the Sea. He knew how close he was to the forbidden truth and the goal of longevity. He has always had his own ideas, and he is definitely not a person who will do stupid things. In the Orochimaru class, if you want to say that the person who understands Orochimaru best is Hongdu. He sees her as a daughter, and she sees him as a father. Although the two are not related by blood, the tacit understanding between them is comparable to understanding non-Uchiha Yuan and others. I always feel that teacher Oshimaru will become very strange when he comes back. Pommel Zion sighed. Okay, let's put our sadness aside for the time being, why don't we see what the teacher left behind? The 4 of them had no opinion on the substitute teacher's proposal. As the only boy, Uchiha Fuchi opened the wooden box first. A piece of squirming meat was placed on a wooden tray engraved with Senju and Uchiha clan emblems, and scrolls were placed beside the tray. What is this? Teacher, is this a prank? Yuan-jun, have you offended Mr. Orochimaru? Uchiha Fuchi raised his eyebrows. The 3 female ninjas didn't know much about Senjujuma. This piece of meat has extremely strong vitality, and it is true that it is an intercolumnar cell. As for the records on the scroll, it is related to the cultivation and transplantation method. Uchiha Fuchi covered the wooden box. Look at yours. Not to ask, not to explain is the tacit understanding of the 4. Kurama Zion opened the wooden box, and next to a scroll that read, Possibility and Preliminary Exploration of Life Replication Technology, there was a laboratory key numbered 04. Hinata Ling and Hongdu obviously didn't recognize what kind of information it was. Uchiha Fuchi looked at the substitute teacher. The Anma family's blood inheritance illusion art is powerful, but apart from the main family, there are only a dozen or so households. It is said that the contemporary patriarch is worried about the reproduction of the ethnic group, and his hair is gray. Fortunately, there is only one scroll. If there are pieces of meat, it would be too scary. Pommel Horse Zion patted her chest and put away the wooden box. It can be seen that she is very satisfied. Ling, it's your turn. Uchiha Yuan has some expectations. The gift that Orochimaru gave to the students was obviously specially prepared. Hyuga Ling opened the box, and it was also a scroll. A superficial study on the curse seal of a bird in a cage. Okay, Red Bean, it's your turn. Hyuga Ling quickly put away the box and said with a smile. But I haven't seen it. Well, I see. Inside the opened wooden box was a yellowed painting of a woman with red hair and a man wearing a headscarf with the Thousand Hand clan emblem. Hongdu's appearance is similar to these 2 people. Uchiha Yuan finally understood the doubts he had in the country of the sea. Why didn't Konoha prepare for Jinchuriki? In fact, Jinchuriki is Oshimaru's student, Midori Anko. Now that I think about it, there are signs of all this. Compared with Kurama Zion and Hyuga Ryo, Hongdu has a lively personality, vigorous vitality, and a much stronger recovery ability. This is exactly the characteristic of the Thousand Hands and Whirlpool clan. Ah, there's a map under the photo. From the trend of the coastline, it can be vaguely seen that it is a map of a certain city in the country of the Whirlpool that has perished. It's strange, I don't know why I always want to visit this place. When Hongdu realized something, Uchiha Fuchi, Ling and Zion looked at each other in blank dismay. Okay, it seems that the gift that the teacher prepared for us is very special, how about helping each other? Ah, Teacher Zion, your information, if I read it correctly, is to expand the population of the clan, right? The few of us, except Yuan Jun, can't help you with this kind of thing. Ah, Ling, didn't you suffer enough last time? Watching the two girls fighting in the snow, Uchiha Yuan was quite speechless. Soon, Hongdu joined the battle group, and even he was affected. On the snow-covered Hokage rock, laughter and laughter made the atmosphere lively. It was already 6 o'clock in the evening when I returned from the village covered in snow. Lacking experimental equipment at hand, Uchiha Fuchi did not rush to fuse the genes contained in the cells between the columns. Right now, there is no Orochimaru coveting, he intends to leave the fusion opportunity to Sharingan to try. After mastering many ninjas, it is extremely important to accumulate combat experience. In this regard, Sharingan with the ability to observe and copy is the most authoritative. At present, Uchiha Fuchi is studying the method of intercolumn cell culture and transplantation provided by Orochimaru. Combining the research data left by the old spot, he found that there is still the possibility of further cultivation of the fragments of the golem. Today, golem fragments are more used as chakra charging treasures. If it is further cultivated, even if it may not reach the size of the sacred tree, the ability of the golem itself will be further awakened. Orochimaru left a laboratory key for Kurama Zion. But for safety reasons, Uchiha Yuan has no intention of borrowing it. Hi, Yuan, long time no see. Linwan, who had only seen it in the afternoon, suddenly appeared. It spits out scarlet letters. This time Zion asked me to come to the number 4 laboratory. Don't forget the jerky. It was more than 6 o'clock in the evening, and the sky had already darkened. The streets of Konoha were brightly lit, and the noise infected everyone's emotions. After the Night of the Nine Tails, the enthusiasm of the villagers became even higher. Kurama Zion was also very happy. As a substitute teacher, she is a few years older than the 3 in Orochimaru's class. But when playing with Kurama Zion really felt that youth is a kind of wonderful joy. Especially stuffing a ball of snow into Uchiha Yuan's neck, and seeing the embarrassing appearance of the other party grinning. Kurama Zion laughed happily. How can there be such a fool who can't hide with the blink of an eye? Ah, you are so happy, I'm so jealous, it's really pitiful for me to be alone in this cold place, can you let them keep me company? A cold and mournful voice sounded unreal in my ears. It was not the first time that Kurama Zion had heard of it. She also heard it once when she returned from the country of the sea and was admitted to Konoha Hospital. This sound is annoying, so she and Kurama jokingly turned baby Sasuke's little brother into a little sister. Normally, with her demure personality, it would be impossible for her to make such mischievous jokes. Going back to that nasty place again, the streets are happier than there, stop. Stop it for me. Ignoring the illusory voice in his ears, Kurama Zion stopped in front of the house. Smoothing the smile on the corner of her mouth, she walked into the house with a calm expression and came to the study. I heard Orochimaru left Konoha. Kurama Houtaro is copying a famous painting. He is the patriarch of the Kurama clan. Yes, father, this is what the teacher gave me, please have a look. Presenting the scroll containing the possibility and preliminary exploration of life replication technology to his father, Kurama Zion glanced at the study. All kinds of famous paintings are framed on the walls, the bookshelves are filled with all kinds of fantasy novels and magazines, and there are boxes containing videotapes in the corner. The old-fashioned and serious father, as well as these materials for training illusions, were her nightmares when she was a child. Okay, what kind of mess? Life duplication can solve the problem of my clan's small population. Is this how Orochimaru dealt with my Kurama clan? Konoha Shueiji Ninja's political investment in Orochimaru also needs to be rewarded. Since he did not succeed Hokage, he naturally needed to come up with other things. What a stupid old thing. Young, you are better than him in illusion and knowledge, why should you listen to his nonsense? Ignoring the voice in his ear, Kurama Zion tried his best to introduce the life duplication technology to his father. Oshimaru Jamie is not normal, Zion. Could it be that even you are crazy? The old thing is yelling at you, why don't you dare to kill him? He's just an old-fashioned trash. If you kill him, you will be free, and no one will dare to care about you anymore. Kill him, Zion. Don't work under Orochimaru anymore, the clan has other arrangements. Kill him. Oshimaru is not a ninja worth following. Kill him. Less contact with those students who are your substitute. Especially Uchiha. Kill him. To shut up. The illusory voices in my ears are denser than the accumulated snowflakes. In desperation, Anma Zion couldn't tell whether it was his father preaching or the strange voice making the noise. But after yelling out, she felt much better out of breath. Zion, what were you talking about just now? In front of him, his father, Kurama Houtaro, was approaching step by step with a ruler in his hand, and Kurama Zion's hands trembled subconsciously. Even though she has become a Jonin, she still cannot completely get rid of her childhood nightmare. Zion, wake up. Your illusion Shueiji has further awakened. Calm down first. The words caught by the ear have no idea what they mean. Tremendous fear and pressure struck, and the consciousness belonging to Kurama Zion disappeared. In the study of the Kurama main family's residence, the patriarch Kurama Houtaro calmly draws at his desk. Pommel Kongyan, who was attracted by the exclamation, hurried over, glanced at the study and left peacefully. They have been immersed in the world of illusion, and they can no longer pay attention to their daughter and sister. The corners of the pommel horse Zion's mouth were raised, and a piercing smile appeared. At the moment when various factors collapsed her emotions, the monster hidden in the illusion blood succession completely dominated her. When I got angry just now, it was because I mentioned Uchiha at that time, right? Kill him, Zion, you will notice me and be willing to accompany me. Pommel horse Zion concluded the summoning spell with a smile. The tired little snake said courteously before he even had time to complain. Uchiha, I know who it is, so send the message here. It was already 7 o'clock in the evening when Uchiha Yuan rushed to Konoha Hospital. The state of the scales that reported the information was not right. Although the snake was tired, it never took the initiative to ask for jerky from itself. Sure enough, after removing the illusion from Linwan, the communication snake couldn't remember what happened at all. Uchiha Yuan immediately understood that something happened to the substitute teacher. While entrusting Shisui to take the police force to Kurama Zong's residence, he hurried to Konoha Hospital. As a Konoha-certified medical and ninjutsu research institution, even if it cooperates with Danzo to study Tabu Orochimaru, Konoha Hospital needs a position. The laboratory is located directly below the Konoha Hospital. It is a rare laboratory under the name of Oshimaru, and its methods and procedures are compliant. During World War III, the main experimental tasks of the Orochimaru class were completed here. Showing the certificate to the ninja who was in charge of guarding the exit, Uchiha Hitomi went all the way down to the door of the laboratory. Substitute teacher, what are you doing? Kurama Zion's long brown hair became snow-white, and she walked toward the depths of the laboratory with her head bowed and her back turned to Uchiha Fuji. The sound of empty footsteps echoed densely in the dark laboratory, and snowflake noise flickered on the electronic screen of the experimental equipment. Uchiha Yuan followed closely behind, and it was certain that he had already possessed an illusion. The blood successor illusion of the Kurama family has been developed to the depths and is overbearing. The monsters hidden in the blood successor will affect the personality of the caster. The most frightening thing is that the damage suffered by the subject in the illusion will be reflected in the real body. In the illusion world, the rules are completely set by the caster. Uchiha Yuan understands that the key now is to find her incarnation without hurting himself and Kurama Zion. But the pommel horse Zion in front of him has a cold temperament, and more importantly, no matter how hard he catches up. Uchiha Buchi could only watch Kurama Zion twist his buttocks and walk in front of him. Simply, he turned around and sprinted away. When he turned around again, he faced the indifferent and white-haired Kurama Zion. Ah, you are that Uchiha. As long as I kill you, she will completely collapse, and she is mine. But why don't you come with me? On the distorted face of Perma Zion, was a smile completely devoid of humanity. As her eyeballs protruded, bloodshot eyes burst out. A huge magma pool suddenly appeared behind Kurama Zion, and Uchiha Fuchi was pushed closer by the strong wind wrapped in a strong sulfur smell. Come closer and I'll kill you. Single quote. In this unique illusion space, the rules are completely set by the caster. Not to mention that Uchiha Yuan can't use phantom ninjutsu. Even if it can be used, he can't attack Perma Zion rashly. But Uchiha Yuan was not too panicked when he was blown to the magma pool. He turned his head to look at the crystal wall beside him. Across the bright yellow ore, a huge fuzzy golden skeleton is hidden behind it. It holds a sword with a long nose and is burning with raging flames. Uchiha Fuchi's powerful soul and the Kurama family's illusion mastered resonate with the illusion space here. He who has not opened Sharingan, saw the ultimate power residing in the kaleidoscope Sharingan. Susanoo, what is certain is that this strange world in front of you is an illusion space created by Perma Zion. It is intriguing to see Susanoo here. What's even more weird is that as Uchiha Yuan's eyes met the empty eye sockets, the huge skeleton trembled slightly. Perma Zion quickly noticed the huge skeleton that should not have appeared. Impossible. This is a space I completely control. How could something like this suddenly appear? Regarding the question of Kurama Zion, Uchiha Fuchi had some vague guesses. Obviously, he mastered the illusion of the pommel horse family, which is of the same line as hers, and had a subtle reaction with the illusion space. As for the Uchiha clan, Susanoo, the core force of the kaleidoscope, was almost pulled out. In fact, the Kurama clan is as old as the Uchiha clan, and the origins of the two clans can be traced back to the founding of the ninja sect by the Sage of the Six Paths. Come to think of it, the blood succession illusion art of the Kurama family and Sharingan had already intersected at that time. Uchiha Fuchi held his breath and did not think too much about this guess. The snow-haired pommel horse Zion burst into anger, and the scene that could barely see the appearance of the laboratory was slowly shattered like a mirror. Susanoo's tremor frequency was so high that he could vaguely hear his heart beating wildly through the crystal wall. The two sides are wrestling. Uchiha Fuchi watched the surrounding scene turn into a desert, and behind Kurama Zion, a khaki-colored mink dragging a tail roared to the sky. In the illusion space, a guardian crane was actually manifested. Kurama Zion said fiercely, Uchiha, no matter what you did to this place. As long as I kill you, she will be mine. Everything will disappear. Face the fear deep in your soul. With the wave of pommel horse Zion, the huge one-tailed crane officially woke up. The blood of the Kurama family's illusion has been developed to the depths, and it can even easily present the entire Konoha hidden village in the illusion space. Perfectly restore all the abilities of Aikyo Shukaku without any difficulty. The sand waves, which symbolize death and silence, form a huge vortex with Shukaku as the center, and Uchiha Fuchi is approaching Shukaku like a rickety boat. Wind escape practice empty bullets. Single quote. Huge compressed air raged around his body, jets of gravel brushed past his face, and blood flowed horizontally. Uchiha Fuchi sighed. When Susanoo behind the crystal wall fought against Kurama Zion, and reshaped the rules of the illusion space. Uchiha Yuan is no longer a lamb waiting to be slaughtered without resistance. On the contrary, because of the existence of golem fragments, chakra can be sent to him at any time to break the illusion. As long as he returns to the real world and wakes up Kurama Zion, everything in front of him will cease to exist. I will not be killed in the illusion space, resulting in the death of the body in the real world. But Uchiha Yuan hesitated. In the past month, he will master all the forbidden ninjutsu from Obito. Coupled with the absorption of three-tailed and six-tailed chakra, it is suspected to awaken the ice escape and boil the blood to continue the limit. Uchiha Yuan didn't want to leave right away. With the help of the Golden Susanoo, he can also control some of the rules of the illusion space at this moment. It is not a problem at all to perfectly restore the effects of mastering ninjutsu and forbidden techniques. So, why not get some real-world experience here? The wound on his cheek healed silently, and Uchiha Fuchi laughed wildly and rushed towards Izuo Suru. Taking out a handful of kunai and scattered it around casually, Uchiha Yuan struggled to jump towards Shuzuru. This transformed tailed beast is also intelligent, its peasy eyes narrowed, and the air cannon hit its head and face. Ridiculous. Is this Uchiha? If you want to die, I'd be happy to see it. Pommel horse Zion stood with folded arms, with disdain flashing in his eyes. Boom. Single quote. Uchiha Fuchi's remnant body shot back, turned into a puff of white smoke and dissipated, a shadow clone. And on the sand dune in front of Shutsuru, Uchiha Fuchi's body quietly completed the seal. Uchiha Fire Formation. Single quote. This is an enchantment technique passed down from generation to generation by the Uchiha family. By releasing the fire attribute chakra in the 5 fingers, it summons the flames deep in the veins of the earth. Surround the target that you want to protect or besiege, powerful enough to resist the attack of the tailed beast. After the old Madara had left, Konoha's Uchiha lost the inheritance of this B-level enchantment technique. In the illusion space right now, Uchiha Yuan can easily use it. I saw the huge Shuhei trying to break through the flame barrier with brute force, but the raging karmic fire turned its fingertips into coke. In desperation, Shuhei, roaring angrily, even wanted to jump out from the top. But the space of the flame formation is too small, and there is no room to move around, let alone complete difficult movements such as jumping. Uchiha Fuchi folded his arms and raised his chin. How? Is there any other way? It shouldn't be this level. The illusion of the Kurama family can even manifest stars and galaxies, let alone a mere tailed beast. Kurama Zion's face became paler, and on the sultry and dry sand, snowflake-like ice crystals danced around her. Let her look more and more like the Snow Girl in the legend of Jigwai. In the Unchanged World line, Kurama Yakumo, Kurama Zion's niece, developed the family line to the depths. She manifested a blue-faced fang, Yasha, named Ito, into reality. Ito can breathe poisonous mist and flames, which is the main culprit that caused the death of Kurama Yakumo's parents, that is, Zion's brother and sister-in-law. Uchiha Hitomi was quite curious about whether his substitute teacher could embody Snow Girl into the real world. Not to mention saving a lot of air conditioning costs in summer, just to assist in combat, it can help Zion, who specializes in illusion, share a lot of pressure. Uchiha, stop being so arrogant. The white-haired Perma Zion has red eyes and quickly enters the furious stage. The sandy land that formed a huge vortex rolled up sand waves, and with the huge shaking, the flame array was continuously raised. Shuhei huddled up and emerged from the ground, emerging from the edge of the vortex of sand waves. Hey ha ha ha, just because you want to trap me. It hurts. Eat me a tailed beast jade. The huge lead black chakra aggregate quickly condensed in front of Shuzuru's open mouth. Perma Zion formed a seal, and the ice crystal swirling around it expanded rapidly, forming a blizzard in the desert. This time Uchiha Yuan did not act rashly, but was thinking calmly. Because of his own lack of combat experience, Shuzuru escaped from the Uchiha flame formation, making the battle situation even worse. In fact, in addition to ninjutsu and intelligence, the battle between ninjas also requires brain warfare. It is necessary to consider the enemy's state, ability, psychology, etc. to make the most comprehensive judgment. Uchiha Yuan is a forbidden ninjutsu, and there are fragments of golems as chakra-charging treasures. In terms of strength on paper, although it is not as good as Sanin, the elite JNIN is not enough for him. But when it comes to combat experience, Uchiha Yuan understands that he is not as good as those JNIN who survived the war. Therefore, the fighting opportunity in the illusion space is especially worth cherishing for him. Letting the blizzard wrap him layer by layer, Uchiha Fuchi still demonstrated in his mind the weaknesses and possible actions of Shuzuru and Kurama Shiun. Uchiha, looks like it's just a show, frozen in my wind and snow, can you still escape the tailed beast jade? Perma Zion grinned grimly. Shuhei strenuously straightened his short and thick neck and thrust forward, spitting out in one gulp. The tailed beast jade, which was powerful enough to destroy mountains and rivers, shot towards Uchiha Fuchi, who was covered in ice crystals in his breath. But Uchiha Yuan, who should have been frozen in the ice crystal, disappeared. Flying Thunder God Technique. The second generation Naruto's original version of time and space ninjutsu is also in the old Bantu's collection. When the battle started, Uchiha Yuan had already thrown out the kunai who inscribed the spell. In Uchiha Yuan's memory, the old Madaretu and the Senju family have been entangled for half their lives. Madara's younger brother died in Toikuma's hands, So what kind of mood does the old Madara have when he uses ninjutsu such as Flying Thunder God, Hachi no Jutsu, Mutual Riding Detonation Talisman, and Dirty Earth Reincarnation? Forbidden spells are included in the collection. If Toikuma is reborn, he will see the Uchiha clan playing these ninjutsu and forbidden techniques sneakily. That scene. Well, maybe this is a bad taste that the old bald head may not even know about. But it's a real thing if Uchiha Yuan is cheaper. After teleporting to avoid the tailed beast Jade, Uchiha Yuan already had some calculations in his mind. During this period of time, he observed and found that the Snow Girl version of Perma Zion had inherited his combat experience from a substitute teacher, was good at illusion interference, and had worrying qualities in forbearance and physical skills. And because of anger, I don't know how to control the timing. Shuzuru Illusion Space version S combat quality is only a little stronger than that of Sanwei Isao Fu he has seen. The tail beast has thick skin and thick flesh, and is good at using energy affinity to display a wide range of natural instinct attacks. If there is a disagreement, the tail beast Jade will be used to decide the outcome. But after entering the fighting state, both Shuhei and Perma Zion lack flexibility. Teleport to the edge of the sandstorm vortex next to the mark of Flying Thunder God. Once again dodge the cross mark of Uchiha Fuchi who guarded the cranes, wind escape practicing empty bullet. As dozens of shadow clones rushed towards Kurama Shion, Uchiha Fuchi, who stayed in place, performed Hachi no Jutsu. This trick was later used as a ninjutsu by Orochimaru, and it has been mastered by Uchiha Yuan. Huge chunks of red meat gushed out of its body quickly. The nine-headed monster with the body of a cow and the tail of a dragon roared upwards. Deep in the latter's beady eyes, the instinctive emotion of fear is brewing. Intelligent beings are always terrified of monsters larger than themselves. Just like a ninja's instinct to be afraid of a tailed beast, at this moment, Ikizuzuru actually felt a long-lost instinct of fear on this huge monster. For the first time, it actually wanted to sneak under the sand. Uchiha Fuchi would not give Shukaku a chance to escape, and two ferocious dragon heads quickly came out and bit Shukaku's shoulders. With the strength of its huge body, the tailed beast tens of meters high was lifted high and fell backward into the center of the sandfall vortex. Amidst the loud bang, quicksand rose into the sky like sea waves, turned into sand and snow and scattered down, and the vortex of the sand waterfall that swallowed everything collapsed. With just a simple Uchiha hug, the power can destroy natural phenomena, which is slightly inferior to the tailed beast Jade. In this regard, Uchiha Yuan is quite satisfied. However, compared to the later Orochimarus, snake spits out people, people spit out swords, it is even possible to use ninjutsu with both hands. Uchiha Hitomi believes that there is still a lot of room for improvement in the development version of the Hachi no Jutsu. But then again, the principle of the Bakijujutsu is to control the rapid division and proliferation of body cells through ninjutsu and turn them into huge monsters, which is a rough imitation of tailed beasts. Orochimaru's alienation direction is the monster Yamada no Orochi. If Jiraiya and Tsunade, who are also Sannin, mastered this technique, the alienation direction is likely to be the monster giant toad and slug. On the contrary, it was the first time that Uchiha Yuan performed the Hachigi no Jutsu, and the monster transformed into a dragon tail, ox body and dragon head, was indeed somewhat unexpected. But the brute force of this monster should not be underestimated. Use 2 dragon heads to tear away the shield and spear that are fixed in Shohei's hands, and the remaining 7 dragon heads turned into fists, hitting Shohei like a torrential rain. This poor mink or civet cat has no ability to resist after losing the means of whole cards. Its proud defense and offense, and even the sand can no longer be manipulated at will. Soon, in the stormy, dragon head fist, offensive, Shuhei's body slowly collapsed and dissipated. Uchiha Fuchi didn't know that Shukaku in the illusion space had almost as much strength as Shukaku's body. In the case of a sufficient supply of chakra, the Bakijushu does have the potential to confront tailed beasts head-on. Slowly regaining human form, the pale Uchiha Fuchi turned his head to look at Kurama Shion, who was competing with the shadow clones. The latter, with red eyes and white hair, has a ferocious aura, but being held by 3 shadow clones, his aggrieved appearance looks a bit pitiful. After all, the substitute teacher is only good at illusion, and his attainments in physical and ninjutsu are mediocre, not to mention that Uchiha Fuchi also has authority over the illusion space. It is also expected to win through group fights. You are possessed by the substitute teacher, right? The battle in the illusion space was fierce. If Kurama Zion was there, Uchiha Buchi would not have seen her now. Then the answer is simple. From the very beginning, the Yukino version of Kurama Zion has merged with Kurama Zion to a certain extent. Then what can you do? Uchiha, can you kill me? This is the illusion space I created, and the wounds on her body will also manifest on her body in the real world. Right now, Kurama Zion is much more honest. Although he no longer cursed, his words were still threatening. Uchiha felt that this Yuki-onna version of Kurama Zion might not be able to contribute to the substitute teacher's future battles. After all, she has always been here for herself, and she has no ill intentions towards the substitute teacher herself. Besides, Uchiha Fuchi has no idea whether killing her can really liberate the substitute teacher. Susano almost resonated with the illusion space, and what he provided was equal authority with the other party. Uchiha Fuchi could not fully control the illusion space here. Interesting. Anyway, I am quite interested in the illusion space, I just don't know much about it, and I just need to experiment. Then let's use you as an experimental subject. Your name is Snow Maiden, right? You are a monster in the deep mountains. You love the cold and control the wind and snow. You like to kill men who break your oath. Well, did you break your oath? What does the love of others have to do with you? I think it's jealousy. Watching Yuki regain her composure in a panic, Uchiha Fuchi shook his head and laughed. Don't worry, I'm a professional experimenter and I'm very professional. After all, a bad experiment subject will lose its value. After the Yukino version of Kurama Zion was captured by mistake, her authority over this space has been slightly inferior to that of Uchiha Fuchi. The reduced version of the Uchiha flame formation quietly surrounded, and the blazing high temperature was hotter than the desert itself. The wind and snow surrounding Shuane melted silently, and pain and resentment appeared alternately on the face of Kurama Zion. That's not counting. Uchiha Yuan waved his hand. Scenes such as snowball fights in the Orochimaru class, experiments, and a few outing missions emerged one by one. In the flickering scene, Kurama Zion smiled happily. That's what she should have been like. I want to ask, do you feel uncomfortable seeing the substitute teacher have such a good relationship with us? Please use rigorous vocabulary to describe. After all, this is a formal experiment, and you are my experimental subject. Uchiha Yuan used a condescending tone. Uchiha, I will never let you go. I will come back. The blood in his eyes collapsed silently, and Kurama Zion, who had recovered his clarity, looked at Uchiha Fuchi in surprise. Wave your hand to dissipate the screen and undo the flame array. Uchiha Yuan smiled and said, Substitute teacher, we have fallen into the world of illusion, and you should have woken up now. Is it? Pommel Zion Gen lowered his head slightly and rubbed between his brows. Her memory was very vague, and the illusory voice in her ears hadn't completely disappeared, and she had no idea what had happened during this time. Okay, substitute teacher, you can unlock the illusion space. As soon as Uchiha Fuchi finished speaking, he saw the brown hair of Kurama Shiun instantly turn white, and she rushed forward with her scarlet eyes. The tenderness between the lips and teeth is like a quagmire that makes people sink deeper and deeper. Before Uchiha Yuan could react, the desert illusion was shattered. Since you can't destroy her things, then take her things away. I want her to suffer and suffer. Then I won't die. One day, I will become one with her. The cold and crazy language is highly recognizable. It is the Snow Girl version of Kurama Zion. After a slight sense of dizziness, the scene in front of Uchiha Fuchi was clear again. The softness and saltiness between the lips and teeth are still there, and when you look down, you can see the substitute teacher curled up in his arms. He has returned to the reality of laboratory and is currently sitting on a leather swivel chair. There was still blood on the corner of Kurama Zion's mouth, and the scar on the tip of Uchiha Fuchi's tongue had healed. This made him a little embarrassed. How should the substitute teacher explain when he woke up? Just at this moment, the door of the laboratory was pushed open. Hinata Ling and Hongdu rushed in, and Rinmaru poked out from behind Ling's shoulder. Yuan, how's the situation? I've found a helper for you. The inexplicable guilt made Uchiha Yuan feel uncomfortable. More importantly, Uchiha Fuchi could feel a strange change in his body in this strange state where his body surface was suspected to be secreting cold sweat. Itching, like countless seeds breaking out of the ground and sprouting new shoots. The last time I felt this way was after injecting the Golem gene solution. That time, Uchiha Yuan couldn't resist the pain of reorganizing his body, and he fainted. But this time was different. Although he didn't feel any pain in his body, he couldn't move normally for a while. I could only sit slumped on a chair and let my body change slowly. Could it be that the blood succession illusion of the pommel horse family has been awakened? Just by exchanging blood with the substitute teacher, can the genes be fused? I feel that the gene phagocytosis ability in the body has a tendency to be turned off again after use. Uchiha Fuchi had some guesses and ideas in his heart, but right now he was being looked at strangely by Hinata Ryo and Rinmaru. He didn't even think about it. Oh, I'm so sleepy. Ben Snake is leaving first. The atmosphere is not quite right. The communication snake, a cold-blooded animal, can even feel subtle changes in the air temperature. Uchiha Hitomi, are you and the substitute teacher so diligent? Are you going to the laboratory to do research at such a late hour? Is the possibility and preliminary exploration of life replication technology so important? Hongdo didn't realize that something was wrong. Not long ago, the 4 members of Orochimaru's class worked night shifts in the laboratory still vividly in his memory. She also stayed alone in the laboratory with Uchiha Yuan. It can only be said that at that time, I wanted to compare Brother Stinky Fart with all my heart, and even the test efficiency improved a lot. Hee. It seems that the Uchiha clan is also eager to expand the number of ethnic groups. Yuan-jun, you obviously received a gift from Mr. Orochimaru, so you didn't do this to secretly take advantage of the substitute teacher, did you? It's too cunning. Hyuga Ryo stared at him with a pair of white eyes and had already been keenly aware of the abnormal flow of Kurama Zion's chakra. She probably judged that her substitute teacher had some problems in the development of blood successors. Mr. K. Yuan is wrong, right? Why did he appear here in the first place? When Rinmaru notified, he yelled for Ling to save Uchiha Yuan. But the scene in the laboratory, ha. Hinata Rin quietly clenched her fists. The substitute teacher was lying in Yuan-jun's arms with blood on the corner of his mouth. I'm afraid even Yuan-jun also noticed the blood stains that were not wiped off his mouth. 2 touches of annoying bright red. Hyuga Ryo leaned over to Uchiha Fuchi's ear. Hey, Mr. Yuan, I think you and the substitute are just discussing academics here, right? I have a very good suggestion. How can you just have the blood of Kurama and Uchiha? If a child has the blood of 2 races, he must be qualified to be the object of the copied life body. Isn't it? Hey, Mr. Yuan, what do you think of my suggestion? Hinata Ryo's tone was very calm, just like everyone eating and fighting together. But subconsciously, Uchiha Fuchi's Adam's apple moved slightly, giving the illusion of cold sweat dripping from his forehead. Even though Ling leaned over in front of her, she could easily see the beautiful mountains and ravines by moving her eyes. But Uchiha Yuan didn't have any messy thoughts at all. He instinctively thought that Ling was angry now, but he couldn't think of any words to explain it. The most important thing is that Ling already has a general understanding of the situation, and once explained, it may become darker and darker. So, when is Mr. Yuan going to make an appointment with the substitute teacher next time? Hinata Ling's voice became sharp, and Uchiha Fuchi's brain hurt from the sound of drums in his ears. Well, forget it. After all, we are all adults. Like the most professional film and television star, Ling instantly controlled her anger, and her tone became lighter. She skillfully took out her handkerchief and wiped away the blood from Uchiha Fuchi's mouth. Hey, Ryo, the substitute teacher quietly discussed something with Uchiha Hitomi, so it's fine if we don't take us. Are you going to whisper to this guy too, and exclude me? Undoing the illusion to the substitute teacher was fruitless. Hongdu turned her head and saw that Ling and that stinky brother's cheeks were about to stick together. Most importantly, they whisper and cannot hear themselves. So irritating. No, it's not a whisper, it's just a suggestion to Mr. Yuan. Okay, Hongdu, let's hurry up and send the substitute teacher to the hospital above the laboratory. Hyuga Ryo pulls out the stretcher familiarly. In the past, laboratory stretchers were used to carry experimental materials, that is, corpses. A brand new pair in my hand, obviously unused. Perhaps Hyuga Ryo doesn't mind using this stretcher next time to carry the bad woman of the substitute teacher. Hey, what about Uchihabuchi? He looks bad too. I can fight another one. After lifting the stretcher, Hongdu was a little worried and kept targeting her senior brother. I've seen that Mr. Yuan is fine, let him reflect on himself here alone. Reflect, did he do something wrong? Red Doe doesn't understand. Hey, did I mention self-reflection? Red Doe, you got it wrong. Oh, until the door of the laboratory was closed heavily, Uchiha Yuan could only blink innocently. This time the process of gene fusion took longer than imagined. Perhaps it is the best choice to be abandoned in a quiet laboratory. After his body recovered, Uchiha Yuanbin planned to visit the substitute teacher. By the way, Ling had a bad attitude towards himself at that time, and he had to be beaten. Otherwise, his position in the Orochimaru class will be -1 in the future. Uchiha Yuan felt that when Hinata Ling observed himself with white eyes at that time, he might have discovered something. Although everyone has their own secrets as ninjas, Kei Ling's attitude made Uchiha Yuan a little uneasy. Unexpectedly, Konoha Hospital has no good way to deal with the deep coma of the substitute teacher. Fortunately, Kurama Houtaro soon appeared at Konoha Hospital and brought his daughter Kurama Zion back. While Uchiha Yuan was relieved, he learned that Ling and Hongdu had returned home early. In the middle of the night, he couldn't rush into the Hyuga clan's land, so he asked Ling to confirm. On the way home, as expected, I encountered Zishui. The patriarch of the Kurama family seems to be very prejudiced against the police force. It is clear that we helped him and his son get rid of the illusion, but he insists that our police force knows the law and breaks the law. Uchiha Fuchi was not surprised by Shisui's complete retelling of Kurama Houtaro's words. In the future, it will only become more and more difficult for the police force to perform their duties in Muya village. After all, the Nine Tails rebellion actually happened, and the trust crisis of the villagers and even the ninja clan was almost as heavy as the destruction of the Q-Tails representatives. Zishui feels sad about this. During World War III, the Uchiha clan also lived and died for the villagers and Konoha. Now that this situation has inexplicably turned into this situation, the people of the tribe can't help but feel chilled. It was already midnight when we returned home with Shisui, and Obito's grandmother and the newcomer Izumi Uchiha went to bed early. Uchiha Fuchi lay on the bed after washing, unable to calm down for a long time. Humming the low melody softly, he soon entered his own illusion space. This is the unique form of illusion of the awakened Pommel Horse clan's illusion. Because it is the first time to step in, this space is quite barren. The foot is full of rocky mud, and in the distance stands a huge crystal wall. Uchiha Yuan saw the huge golden skeleton outside the crystal wall, Susanoo. Looking down, a 3-meter-high monster with a dragon head, an ox body, and a dragon tail is constantly hitting the crystal wall, and tiny cracks are densely packed. Uchiha Fuchi raised an eyebrow. I have indeed awakened that the blood successor of the Kurama family is not fake, and look at the posture in front of me. Once the monster smashes the crystal wall, maybe it can skip the Guyu Sharingan and open the kaleidoscope. Among the Uchiha clan, the opening and evolution speed of Guyu Sharingan has always been regarded as the standard for judging the qualifications of ninjas. Shisui entered the battlefield against Kurigakure when he was less than 10 years old, quickly opened Sharingan and evolved to Sangoyu, and was evaluated as a genius comparable to Evil Eye, Fuyu. In the same year that Itachi opened Sharingan at the age of 8, he quickly evolved into Ergoyu, opened Kaleidoscope and entered the Shao organization where shadow-level powerhouses gathered, and his strength also firmly ranked in the first echelon. And Izumi Uchiha opened Sharingan at the age of 6, and 7 years later, she has grown into Sangoyu in the night of the extermination of the genocide, but she is only a chunin who is good at physical skills. Just after crossing over, Uchiha Yuan also tried to enable himself to open Sharingan. After all, there are many ways to create mood swings, such as illusion, putting yourself in a dangerous situation, and even knowing how your parents took care of you before they died. Without exception, these methods all failed. Uchiha Hitomi quickly concluded that the opening of Sharingan seems to have extremely strict requirements for emotional fluctuations. For him who has the memory of the Traverser, this is an unavoidable disadvantage. His life experiences in the previous life were not rich, but they were colorful enough to be missed even now. But in the ninja world where strength is the most respected and lacks perceptual cognition and thinking, Uchiha Fuchi has never been able to find his own belonging. It is even more difficult to achieve the harsh mood swings required to open Sharingan. Fortunately, this is not entirely a disadvantage. Because it is temporarily impossible to open Sharingan, Uchiha Hitomi, who is a political investor, does not have to worry about the coveting of his teacher Orochimaru, and can learn basic scientific research knowledge with confidence. It was only by chance and coincidence that he realized that he had the ability to have infinite possibilities. Gene phagocytosis fusion. It was this ability that made Uchiha Yuan determined to give up the safe but boring life in the laboratory. However, after merging the golem gene, there are still many mysteries that Uchiha Yuan can't solve. After exchanging blood with the substitute teacher, what he awakened is definitely the pure blood successor of the pommel horse family illusion. Compared with the basic illusion of the Kurama family, phantom lotus killing, learned before, the current Uchiha Fuchi does not need to seal, just a gesture, a word, or even a static painting can manipulate the five senses of the opponent and drag him into the illusion space. In addition to the fact that the damage here will be fed back to the real body, Uchiha Yuan can even fully reproduce complex events such as interrogation, torture, and combat. And what he did here, he didn't have to worry about being discovered by Anbu, who was monitoring the Uchiha clan. As for the barren space full of sand and gravel at present, it is purely because Uchiha Fuchi entered the illusion space for the first time and was not proficient in mastering it. As he used various parameters of the real world to transform the space here, with a wave of his hand, a training ground soon appeared in front of him. In this way, I can use the multiple shadow clones to continuously hone my fighting skills in the illusion space. However, there are some issues that need to be clarified first. Since the fragments of the golem absorbed the chakras of Sanwei Isofu and six-tailed rhinoceros, Uchiha Yuan clearly felt that the chakras of water and wind, water and earth became compatible in his body. He suspected that he had awakened the talents of the two-tailed beasts, blood successor boundary ice escape and melting escape. But after some experiments, Uchiha Yuan discovered that this was not the case at all. The ice escape that can quickly condense the surrounding water, even the water escape ninjutsu, has the basic attribute of freezing, and although Uchiha Fuchi did not learn the secretary ninjutsu developed on this basic attribute. But the ice escape he used didn't even have a complete freezing basic attribute, so he could only make some ice-water mixture. The same is true for the escaping blood follower, which is completely unable to exert the characteristic of corrosion. You must know that the Rongdun used by the 5th generation Mizukage Terumime was enough to corrode Susanoo in the skeleton state. These anomalies have made Uchiha Yuan a strong interest in exploration. Through the form of blood exchange, he fused the gene and awakened the blood successor of the pommel horse family. However, the chakra traded between Sanwei and Luwei will not cause any problems, but the experimental results of Ice Dungeon and Boiling Dungeon are completely different from the actual results. Having said that, the blood inheritance of the tailed beasts is likely to come from the Sage of the Six Paths, no. To be more precise, it is the sacred tree. Now I have indeed integrated the golem gene. In theory, as long as I master the relevant chakra nature changes and fusion skills, it is possible to use all blood successor limits, but the performance gap between ice escape, smelting escape, and the illusion blood succession is too exaggerated, right? Holding his chin, Uchiha Fuchi thought about various possibilities. Right now, the life-body replication, proposed by Orochimaru, that is, the cloning technology, is still in its infancy, and the teacher has not carried out in-depth research on genes. Therefore, Uchiha Yuan's knowledge is also lacking. However, he has some guesses. Perhaps, all the blood-stained limit, blood-stain elimination, and even blood-stained genes are sleeping in his body cells at the moment, and the second fusion to activate the blood-stained genes will activate the relevant bloodstains in his body. Chakras with related blood successors can only do pseudo-activation, which causes their own ice escape and smelting escape to be much worse than the actual performance of the Kurama family's illusion art blood successor. Uchiha Yuan believes that this speculation is reasonable. After all, what he fused was the golem gene of the heretics, which was the shell of the sacred tree after the nine-tailed beasts were removed. The abilities shown by the golems of the outside world are more about the absorption and release of chakra, and most of them do not involve the application of chakra related to blood succession. Now that I am fused with the golem gene, I need the blood succession gene to activate the related blood succession ability. Thinking about it this way, it's reasonable. But what happened to Mudun? The Baiju created with the golems of the heretics can perform simple would escape themselves. Moreover, the god Jukai born, used in the hands of Kagaya and Uchiha Madara as the blood succession snare, while the Juji born, used in Senshujujian as the blood succession limit. Even the Mudun Shueji is formed by the fusion of water and earth attribute chakra properties, and the formula is the same as the production formula of the dissolved bloodstain. However, the actual performance effects of the two blood successors are not the same at all. The mystery of this, Uchiha Yuan understands that it is impossible to figure it out by his own conjecture. He intends to conduct related research. It just so happened that through the substitute teacher's research on cloning technology, he could learn related genetic knowledge. As for the ability to engulf the fusion gene itself, and other studies on blood successors, Uchiha Fuchi needs a more concealed and safer experimental environment than laboratory. When I woke up, I felt a dull pain in my head. Last night, Uchiha Fuchi's consciousness was fighting the shadow clones in the illusion space until 4 o'clock in the morning. The effect of combat experience accumulation is quite gratifying. In addition to Uchiha Yuan's body can exercise super speed response and careful calculation in combat situations, the experience of the shadow clone is also fed back to the body. While his combat experience has greatly increased, his body and spirit are also faintly exhausted. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. Brother Yuan. Brother, are you awake yet? Grandma asked me to wake you up for dinner. After getting affirmation, Izumi Uchiha pushed open the door, walked in, and closed it. Uchiha Fuchi, who was about to put on his clothes, could only scratch his chin in embarrassment. He could tell that Izumi was not impolite, but wanted to say something to himself. Brother Yuan, I heard Itachi said that your shuriken skills are very good. Can I learn from you too? Uchiha Yuan looked up at Uchiha Izumi. In the little girl's eyes, there is the scarlet Shulinyan. This is the beginning of relatives who lost their lives in the Nine Tails Rebellion and suffered extreme emotional stimulation. Well, what's the reason? I don't want to be so weak, and I don't want the person who protects me to lose his life again. Holding his chin, Uchiha Fuchi frowned and pondered for a while, as if teaching Uchiha Izumi shuriken was an extremely difficult choice. In fact, Uchiha Izumi is willing to learn, so he is naturally willing to teach. Just 6 years old, not even entered the ninja school, does Izumi Uchiha, who has opened Sharingan, have the potential to open Kaleidoscope? Yuan thinks the answer is yes. After all, the prerequisites for opening the Kaleidoscope are Guyu Sharingan and more extreme emotional stimulation. Although in terms of Yuan's calm and stable personality, illusions and extreme external environments have little effect on stimulating him. But Uchiha Izumi is different, she has strong plasticity at a young age. Moreover, Quan and Itachi may not be unable to form a competitive relationship and make progress together. Brother Yuan, can't you do it? Is it because your left hand injury hasn't healed yet? The young Izumi thought very simple, and he didn't even consider the possibility of Uchiha Yuan's rejection. Ah, that's not true. Quan, can you turn around and let me get dressed first? It's really strange to talk to you like this. Quan, who finally realized that something was wrong, turned around and ran out. In a blink of an eye, she turned back and closed the door. Uchiha Fuchi nodded in satisfaction. The purer and purer the character, the unique advantages in the field of opening the Kaleidoscope Sharingan. At present, it seems that Quan's qualifications are quite good. Of course, Yuan is also curious about the data about the content and form of training required for the evolution of Guyu's Sharingan. It can be collected when the fountain is taught. After breakfast, Yuan gave Izumi Uchiha the scrolls that he had previously practiced in Shuriken Jutsu and Ho Fireball Jutsu. At your age, it's too early to participate in training. You try to master these basics and learn related skills further. Master the basic knowledge, cooperate with the inside effect of Yigoyu Sharingan, and then improve your strength through imitation training. It is a relatively stable one among the exploration plans prepared by Uchiha Yuan. After arranging the spring, Uchiha Fuchi came to Fuyu's residence. After confirming the history of the Hyuga clan from Aunt Makoto, he left the clan. Last night, Hinata Ryo might find out that his body was abnormal, and Uchiha Hitomi thought it was too careless. The residence of the Hyuga clan, a residence that is less impressive than the residence of the patriarch Hyuga Hazushi, is exactly where the Hyuga Ling's house is located. In the spacious house, only 3 people lived: Ling, her mother, and a maid who can only be hired by the patriarch's family. Unexpectedly, Mr. Yuan would come to visit. "How did you have breakfast?" Hyuga Hasashi was serving an old woman who looked like woman for breakfast. Her shiny and warm silver hair was coiled on top of her head. The woman closed her eyes tightly, and on her white forehead was the blue curse mark of a bird in a cage, which was extremely ferocious. Hinata Ling carefully fed the porridge into the mouth of the old woman, and introduced Uchiha Yuan. Hearing that the foreign man was a friend of her daughter, the old woman did not take any action. With her arms lost on the battlefield, any unnecessary movements are extremely difficult. "Sorry, Mr. Yuan, my mother is like this. Can you please wait patiently for a while?" Soon, after breakfast, the old lady went to the courtyard to bask in the sun under the service of the maid. Hinata Ryo, who hurriedly finished breakfast, rushed over and took Uchiha Fuchi to the study. The illusion here is quiet and suitable for conversation. "Yuanjin, are you here to explain what happened last night?" "Beforehand, these have nothing to do with me." Hyuga Ryo looked at Yuan thoughtfully. Next, Yuan picked out an important part of what happened last night. "When it comes to the illusion that even I was awakened by the substitute teacher, blood flowed in time." Hinata Ling's eyes narrowed. Yuan looked at it and sighed inwardly. "Ling, can you tell me what went wrong with my body at that time?" "Who knows?" Hinata Ling's thoughts came alive. Bayan can easily observe the meridians and acupoints of the human body through perspective. Obviously, Yuanjun was conscious at that time. Yuanjun, who is in normal body, has extremely active chakra, but can't move. Leaving aside the late-night aloneness in the lab with the substitute teacher, isn't that an anomaly in itself? Coupled with his eager attitude, Hyuga Ling soon realized that Mr. Yuan seemed to be trying his best to hide his own secret. This feeling of superiority in knowing her companion's secret made her smile peacefully. As expected of being from the Orochimaru class, he also knows himself quite well, so he is really difficult to deal with. Yuan thought, "Ling, why don't we talk about the gift from teacher Orochimaru? The piece of meat he left me is the cells of the ninja god Senju Hashirama. According to the data, the Hashirama cells have extremely strong vitality. In theory, they have the function of creating or even grafting and adapting ninja limbs. These cells are of great significance to Konoha's current scientific research. After all, they are the hard work of the teacher. As long as the cells between the pillars can be developed to the extent that they are suitable for ordinary ninjas, the combat effectiveness of the entire Konoha can be improved. Even those ninjas who suffered heavy injuries may not be without." Seeing Hinata Ryo being attracted by his rhetoric, Uchiha Fuchi changed the subject. "So, Ling, where's your gift? Superior research on the curse seal of the caged bird. Do you want to get rid of your fate as a ninja of the Hyuga branch?" Hinata Ryo's attitude was rarely dignified. Usually, she rarely showed this side. "Even if it is, so what? Don't you have a secret, Mr. Lien Yuan? What's more, Yuan-kun, do you think you know the Hyuga clan well by saying that?" Seeing Hinata Ryo, who pretended to be indifferent, Uchiha Fuchi snapped his fingers. "No, I just happen to know about the past of Ling, your father and mother. Hyuga Nichizu will not dispatch Ling as a political investment in Orochimaru for no reason. As a branch ninja, Hyuga Ling's status in the family is obviously higher." Yuan learned that Ling's father and mother were called white-eyed heroes within the Hyuga clan. In the battle between Konoha and Kurigakure in World War III, Ling's parents brought a clan, White Eye, back to Konoha at the cost of 1 death and 1 disability. Engraved on the forehead of the branch ninjas, the seal of the bird in a cage intended to protect the White Eye makes it easy for the very few ninjas of the Hyuga clan to decide the life and death of many branch ninjas. This is a kind of deterrence and enslavement, but the separated family has to turn their heads to protect the clan ninja. During that turbulent period, because the ninjas from the Hyuga clan kept dying on the battlefield, many people accumulated resentment towards the clan ninjas. If it is placed in a peaceful age, the concept of unequal relationships within the same clan can be completely eliminated through the enlightenment education of ninjas who are separated from each other. But in the war years, the pain caused by death completely broke the inherent concept of ninjas. And Ling's parents were forced to choose the role model of the split ninja in this special period. Seeing Ling's gradually dignified expression, Uchiha Fuchi said unhurriedly. Actually, Ling's parents didn't protect the clan ninjas. That's why, Ling, you need the method to undo the caged bird curse seal. Right. Ryo's parents are called white-eyed heroes, and they have a high reputation among the Hyuga clan as branch ninjas. Yuan said in front of her that Ling's parents did not protect the clan ninja. Hinata Ling was very calm. She was not angry because of defamation, nor was she annoyed by exposing. That's why it's very troublesome to deal with Ling, the Hinata ninja. Obviously the pure white eyes are beautiful, but there are no superfluous expressions and micro-movements. Yuan sighed. So, Mr. Yuan, what does this have to do with you, an outsider from the Hyuga clan? The research on the cage bird curse seal is a gift from my teacher. As a branch ninja, Ling actually wants the research materials of the caged bird curse seal. What exactly is she trying to do? Just as the two were tugging, there was a slight sound of footsteps outside the study, and soon the footsteps became farther and farther away. Tap tap. A drum-like frequency struck Hinata Ling's heart. Someone is eavesdropping on the conversation. Before Uchiha Fuchi could make a move, Hyuga Ling had already stepped out in an instant. When turning back, the maid who had been acupointed by Hinata Jiroquan's secret method had no power to resist and was thrown heavily on the ground. At this moment, Yuan saw Hinata Ryo's hesitant killing intent in the face of the maid. She was arranged by the patriarch. It is really troublesome for Ling. Uchiha Yuan did not hesitate to take out kunai to deal with the maid, and seal the body into the scroll. A faint smell of blood floated in the air, and the sunlight shining through the latticed windows made the pool of blood scarlet. The atmosphere in the study became tense. Uchiha Fuchi raised his head. Sure enough, Ling's parents didn't protect the main family. It's just that they are both branch ninjas. It seems that this maid lady and Ling have completely different ideas. Confusion, astonishment, regret and powerlessness, all kinds of thoughts and emotions intertwined in Hinata Hishibi's chest. The maid who took care of her mother was specially hired by the patriarch. Even if the body was not found and it was classified as a disappearance, Ling herself could not escape suspicion. Not to mention the murderer who killed the maid, Yuan. From this moment, Ling had a strange illusion. I and the Uchiha in front of me are grasshoppers tied to the same boat. Phew. Can I just say that I am worthy of Mr. Yuan? Zion and I just inherited the teacher's idea of life as the most important thing, but Mr. Yuan has perfectly learned the teacher's ruthlessness and determination. What should I do now? I will not betray Mr. Yuan, but Mr. Yuan is responsible for my personal safety. Hyuga Ryo pursed her lips tightly, her gaze became deep. I'll take care of it. How about running away from the ninja and Konoha together? Is Mr. Yuan a fool? I have the caged bird curse seal engraved on my forehead. If the clan ninja thinks about it, I will die. What's more, there is a mother. If her daughter becomes a traitor, she will be implicated. Snapped. Uchiha Yuan smiled and snapped his fingers. The smell of blood, the pool of blood, and the suffocating oppressive atmosphere disappeared. The illusion of the study is still quiet. Hyuga Ryo and Uchihabuchi are just sitting opposite each other, and the maid can be seen combing Ryo's mother's pale hair through the window. Illusion. It feels exactly the same as the substitute teacher's illusion. Yuan-jun, is this your secret? Single quote. Hyuga Ling was very depressed. This feeling of being manipulated by Mr. Yuan was even more powerless than the cage bird curse seal. Also, when did Mr. Yuan master the blood succession illusion of Kurama Zion? Is this a secret that only belongs to the two of them? Ling, don't be so surprised. Even if it's an illusion, my words are still the same. I am always willing to escape the cage of ninjas and Konohas with you. A place of decay and lack of hope is not worth nostalgia for. But before that, we have to solve it first. You, and the curse mark on your mother's forehead. Also, we've been sitting for a while, and our mouths are dry. Is there any tea? With a sore nose, Hyuga Ling bowed his head and got up silently to leave. When they came back, white steam was overflowing from the fragrant teacups on the bamboo tea tray. Uchiha Fuchi said with a smile. Ling, I know you now, because of the deception just now, I hate me very much. So, there should be no spit in the teacup, right? But even if there is, it doesn't matter, the girl's body fluid is very sweet. Hinata Ryo heard the veins on his forehead throbbing. First he used illusions to deceive himself, and now he used frivolous words. Mingming just said that he is willing to escape from the ninja and Konoha with him, and solve the curse mark of the caged bird. I really want to splash the hot tea in my hand on the fool Yuan Jun's face. Hideous in his heart, Hinata Ryo's expression was calm enough, and he handed the hot teacup to Uchiha Fuchi's hand. If Mr. Yuan wants to add more ingredients, it's not too late now. Blowing off the tea foam and taking a sip, Yuan said comfortably. Why is it so troublesome to add ingredients to the tea? Please be more direct. Suddenly, Hinata Ling blushed from the blood on Yuan Jun and that bad woman's mouth last night. At this moment, she actually felt an unparalleled sense of frustration. In the previous experimental research, Mr. Yuan was the most careful one, and did not make any mistakes in the data. And in the trial, he has always been the one who finally won among the three. But now, even the normal conversation with Mr. Yuan was led by the nose. Although Hyuga Ryo has been used to looking at Uchihabuchi's back in a daze since he was a ninja school. But until the fool Yuan Jun told him that he would help solve the curse mark of the caged bird. Hyuga Ryo really felt that that fool Yuan-kun understood him. Even if what he said was a fraud like an illusion, it might be enough for him. She resentfully threw the scroll recording, Superior Research on the Curse Seal of the Caged Bird, into Uchiha Yuan's arms. While Yuan was flipping through the pages, Hinata Ling held the teacup and said lightly. Yuan-kun, maybe you think my idea is ridiculous, but I also have reasons to have to undo the caged bird curse seal, and leave Hinata, and even Konoha. As you said, my parents are not supercilious heroes. They failed to fulfill their mission of protecting the clan. While looking at the scroll distractedly, Uchiha Hitomi's thoughts were brought to the perilous battlefield by Ling's calm narration. For the ninja clan, if they want to gain a real status in Ninja Village, it is not enough to rely on the strength of Shueiji and the accumulation of history. Whether it's Uchiha, Sarutobi, or Shimura, dedication to the village, or more accurately, military exploits, is the key factor in determining the status of the ninja. The Hyuga clan also has this need. So, the split ninjas were sent to the battlefield to die. Because of the family mission of ensuring Bayan's inheritance, the ninjas of the Hyuga clan rarely set foot on the battlefield. What's more, with the few ninjas of the clan and their limited strength, they couldn't have a decisive impact on the battle situation. This is the experience summed up by the Hyuga clan in previous wars. But the third ninja war was completely different. Konoha and the four major ninja villages each have battlefields. After the war started, they soon fell into a situation of insufficient ninjas. My parents are elite branch ninjas who survived the battlefield. During the battle against Kurigakure, they received a mission to bring a clan ninja to the battlefield. Speaking of this, Hinata Ling took a deep breath, lowered his head and took a sip of tea. Chapter 51. In the era of war, Hyuga branch ninjas have shaken the concept of separate ninjas should protect clan ninjas since their enlightenment. When family members, friends, and even young branch ninjas who just left school died on the battlefield, there are always branch families who think, why can't the main family sacrifice? Why does the clan with stronger white eyes need to separate to protect? Isn't the will of fire calling for the protection of young people and the future of the village? Why didn't the clan go to the battlefield? Are they not part of the village? Hinata Ryo's parents had thought about this problem, and Ryo had thought about it when he was a child. But as she grew older, Ling found that this kind of thinking could not help her change the status quo at all. Originally in Konoha Hidden Village, the important ninjas of the clan would be protected by the clan's own people. But on the battlefield, this means more chances of losing pure white eyes. So, my parents escorted the ninja of the Zong family to join the Konoha Kaian battlefield. The Zong family was supposed to be the commander. Unfortunately, on the way, they encountered Kurigakure's interception force in the Land of Fire. The leader's name is Cheng, which was said by my mother. Yuan listened silently. At this time, he had finished reading the research scroll of The Cursed Seal of the Caged Bird. Ao is the powerful confidant of Mizukage Teramime in the 5th generation, and has the title of White-Eyed Killer. This Ryo is one of the few ninjas in Hokage who transplanted white eyes, and was registered on Konoha's golden arrest warrant until the Fourth World War. At that time, there were only 4 people protecting the clan. Besides my parents, the other 2 ninjas died in battle. And in the process of evading the interception, the clan ninja was accidentally poisoned, and he began to suspect his mother who went out to fetch water. That family ninja has never been on a battlefield. Under extreme anxiety, he even planned to temporarily send his father away and kill his mother with the caged bird, curse to ensure that his whereabouts will not be revealed. But after all, my father is an elite who survived the battlefield. In a hurry, he can only kill the clan ninja. Kurigakure's interception troops arrived soon. During the scuffle, my father tried his best to save a blind eye, so that the severely injured mother could bring it back. That's what he said, take this eye back, and just tell the people about his death. My father wants my mother to lead me to live a good life. After a long silence, there was a wry smile. This is the truth about the so-called white-eyed hero. I later learned that Kurigakure has a blood follower, Red Eye, who restrains white-eyed. Hinata Ling closed his eyes, calmed down and drank the cold tea in the cup in one gulp. Yuan-jun, isn't it ridiculous? The white-eyed hero actually violated. No, Ling, in my eyes, your father is a hero. The secret hidden in Hinata Ling's heart was told by her. People who are willing to escape here with themselves, even if they make fun of themselves as naive little girls, or even deny this behavior that violates the ninja rules. Hyuga Ling can accept it. But she didn't expect to hear such a comment. Uchiha Yuan felt that Ling's father possessed lofty awareness and courage. Able to risk their lives to protect the ones they love, and arrange their future before dying in battle. Perhaps this is the true appearance of the ninjas who have been hiding. Yuanjin, I'm very happy to hear you say that. But my father didn't know that these were tortures for my mother. Once she let me know the truth, by accident by talking in her sleep, my mother became silent. She no longer communicates with outsiders, and rarely even responds to my words. She is afraid that if the truth is heard, the so-called white-eyed hero will be cast aside by the tribe. And my mother and I, let alone living in the Hyuga clan. We will lose everything right now. Hyuga Ling raised his head, his eyes were bright. But isn't everything we have is false? My mother has become taciturn, and even the whole person is getting old. As their daughter, I hate the Hyuga clan. One day, I will take my mother and leave here. This is the real reason why I asked Oshimaru-sensei for the caged bird solution. Ling's thoughts are not only her mother's concern, but also her own desire to pursue freedom. She doesn't care about the unfairness of the system or the conflicts in the family. As a political investment of the Hyuga clan, a student of Orochimaru, the daughter of the white-eyed hero. Among the Hyuga clan, Ling had already lived a relatively good life. But both the spacious mansion and the favorable living conditions are based on a lie that may collapse at any time. It can only be said that he is worthy of being a student of Orochimaru, who always regards the survival of life as the first goal, and always implements his own ideas and pursuits. Uchiha Yuan never denies the demands of a normal human being, even though such demands do not conform to ninja rules. But who can be sure that the so-called ninja rules are all correct? Which is more important, partner or task? Which one should be given priority to family affection or mission? The root cause of these cognitive contradictions may be the ninja system criticized by the 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato, or there may be deeper problems. Uchiha Yuan didn't intend to delve into these, and he had no plan to change the ninja world. Anyway, let's think about how to solve the curse mark of the caged bird. After staying under Mr. Oshimaru, I understand the feeling of helplessness. After reading Orochimaru's research on cage bird curse seal, Uchiha Yuan still admires this scientific research madman. Through special research, he proposed 3 research directions for lifting the curse seal. First, the curse seal of the caged bird is closely related to the soul of the Hyuga clan, and starting from the soul level is the most direct and most difficult way. Second, the caged bird curse seal itself is a combination of rune formulas and chakras. As long as the sealed white eyes evolve, the possibility of breaking the seal formula also exists. This is the most dangerous way with the least probability. Third, use cloning technology to recreate the body and complete reincarnation in a non-soul way. This is the most likely way to succeed. Yuan believes that all three methods need to be practiced. Having mastered the technique of spiritualization, I have a certain attainment in the study of souls, and the first option is worth trying. As for Bian, it can mutate into Jingyan, or even evolve into Tenseiyan. Uchiha Fuchi knows a thing or two. Use a sufficient number of white eyes to fuse into Tenseigan, or use the fairy body of the descendant of Moon Yumura to accumulate pure white eyes to evolve into Tenseigan. It is quite difficult to implement these under the current conditions. However, in the next period of time, Yuan is also planning to start a special research on himself. In the sleeping golem gene, there may be the possibility of evolution of white eyes. At that time, even Shenshu and Kagaya Heim didn't show Tenseigan, so he might not be unable to obtain it. After picking and analyzing Orochimaru's experimental plan and ideas to Hinata Ryo, Uchiha Fuchi habitually extended his hand. Whether it's soul, white-eyed evolution or the research on the clone of Ling can't be whoring for nothing, right? Hinata Lingjun's white eyes glowed strangely, and she twisted Uchiha Fuchi's palm playfully. Here, if Yuan-kun wants to help, let's start by getting to know the Hyuga clan. What was stuffed into his hand was a scroll that recorded the Hyuga clan's soft fist secret technique. But seeing Ling's happy expression, Yuan thought that it might not be impossible to get some body tissue cells from her in the future. He also yearns for Bian's insight. It was almost noon when we left Ling's mansion. After watching the soft boxing secret technique on the spot, Uchiha Yuan has already learned it. But learning it is one thing, being able to use it is another. Without white eyes and blood inheritance, it is impossible to observe the acupuncture points of the human body. Yuan's soft fist was empty-handed, just like Haidilao pulling noodles. However, there is no rush to get the white eye, blood successor. The gene fusion and phagocytosis ability is temporarily silent, so we can only look for opportunities in the future. Uchiha Fuchi. What a coincidence, I didn't expect to meet you here. No need to look back, Yuan also knew that it was Hongdu who greeted him. Not many people like to call her by her full name, not to mention her recognizable tone. Ah, it's Red Beans. What a coincidence, if you pretend you didn't notice me, I'll pretend you didn't. This time Yuan didn't intend to give Hongdu a chance to take the initiative to scold him. Open your mouth first to be strong, and open your mouth later to suffer. Dodging the Red Bean's fist as expected, Yuan laughed. It's just noon, let's eat first. The three-color meatballs of Konoha Maruko shop have long been famous in the whole village, and the ninjas of the same period often like to gather here for entertainment after their missions. Surprisingly, I didn't see any customers today. So, Red Bean bought the excess meatballs and ate them very happily. To be honest, the food was not very elegant. Uchiha Yuan, are you secretly speaking ill of me? Look, our little junior sister is already so dizzy that she's scolding herself in her heart, and even going so far as to frame me. I scolded myself. What did I scold? Happy Kayawanzi. Hongdu's questioning voice was vague. Sometimes, Uchiha Fuchi is quite envious of junior sister. What to eat and what to drink, nothing to worry about. This free and easy attitude towards life is not a ray of light in the cracks in the ninja world. Perhaps apart from the fact that she inherited Sensho and Uzumaki's lineage, teacher Orochimaru doesn't dislike such an optimistic personality. Brother Yuan, do you also like eating meatballs? Behind, is Uchiha Azumi's weak voice. With a ball in one hand and a scroll in the other, she didn't forget to study even while eating. Who is she? Hongdo had never seen Quan. Sister-in-law. Sister-in-law. Is there any difference between sister-in-law and younger sister? Maybe junior sister will gain weight. Roll. The partial petrification of the left hand gradually faded with the passage of time. It was already half a year later when it was enough for normal activities. During this period, Yuan and the 3 members of Orochimaru's class reopened the laboratory, and the research direction was life-body replication, that is, cloning technology. The director of Konoha Hospital, who is also in charge of technology and development research, also came to understand the specific progress. When he knew that this was the creation of Dashimaru, one of the 3 ninjas, even he became very interested. It is said that it will be reported to the 3rd generation Hokage to decide whether to increase investment. In his spare time, Yuan also carefully taught Izumi Uchiha, and now this righteous sister has developed Sharingan Turgoyu. Although the strength has increased a lot, the little girl seems very dissatisfied. Because of the slightly weaker cultural class, she will always be inferior to Uchiha Itachi in the test rankings. Quan didn't complain about this, but just patiently asked Yuan for advice. In the past 6 months, Yuan's fighting instinct has improved by leaps and bounds. In the illusion space, using multiple shadow clones to do devil-style exercises, all fighting skills are instinctively engraved in memory. Right now in Konoha Ninja Village, the strength of the 3rd Hokage is unknown to Ibuchi. In the case of Kami Sanin, he is confident that even if the opponent can win, he will not be able to take advantage of it. As for the elite ninjutsu, Yuan believes that the other party will probably see himself as a nightmare who has mastered many forbidden ninjutsu. Even so, Uchiha Yuan also had some headaches. He has been thinking about Yin Ninetails sealed by the death mask in Namiantang, but because of Anbu's surveillance. In the past 6 months, Yuan has forcibly restrained his urge to step on the spot. Fortunately, now his left hand has recovered, and he can use ninjutsu normally, and entering the police force is something Fuyu promised a long time ago. Taking advantage of the opportunity of patrolling, he quietly figured out the layout of the Namian Hall, and got the death mask that sealed the soul of Namikaze Minato and Yin Juwei. These have been put on the agenda by Yuan. Thinking of this, Yuan sighed. The fly in the ointment is that Orochimaru is obsessed with the study of blood succession in Wuin village in the country of the sea, and has no interest in studying the big problem of seal the ghouls solution. However, Uchiha Fuchi remembered the general steps. If the attempt failed, he planned to take a trip to the former site of Uzumaki country. The sealing technique originated from the Whirlpool clan, so clues might not be impossible to find there. On this day, Itachi Uchiha, who hurriedly finished his homework after school, came to the training ground happily. After the clan moved to the edge of the village, the expressions of the surrounding adults became more and more dignified day by day. Itachi vaguely realized something, but at such a young age, he couldn't understand the conflicts between Konoha's senior management and the clan, so he could only focus on training. The cruel experience on the battlefield made him understand that only those who are strong and survive are qualified to think. Boom. Single quote. The shuriken was originally thrown in the opposite direction, but after making a figure-8 arc, it hit the bullseye placed behind the tree smoothly. Itachi has always been envious of Yuan's beautiful shuriken skills, but he heard from Shisui that this is unique and cannot be learned even by training and imitating it. And it is Itachi's dream to be comparable to Big Brother Yuan in terms of shuriken skills after entering the ninja school. Boom. Bang. Bang. Single quote. Inverting 360 degrees in the air, the thrown kunai accurately hits the bullseye placed on the tree trunk and roots. Izumi Uchiha took a deep breath and turned to look at Itachi. Itachi, do you want to fight? I don't use Sharingan. Come and fight. You can use Sharingan or not. Itachi, who is no longer a depressed child, has become lively, and immediately formed a seal of opposition with Quan. Zishui is very strong, and Brother Yuan is even more unfathomable. Although he has learned a lot from practicing with them, he still cannot recognize himself. Itachi can only regard Quan as a trial opponent. During the Night of Nine Tails, he saw this crying little girl. Weak and weak, not very likable. Hearing that she is Yuan's disciple, Itachi is willing to try with Quan, otherwise he just thinks it's a waste of time. After all, during the period of entering school, in addition to full marks in all homework, Itachi has already mastered the 3-body technique, and can even skillfully perform the fireball technique. In terms of physical skills, he even thinks that he is stronger than Quan, who is weak in physique. The confrontation between the two children quickly attracted Uchiha Yuan's attention, or this is what he hoped to see. Ready, go. Following an order, the two thin figures rushed towards each other in an instant. A few seconds later, the stronger Itachi lay on the ground blankly. Quan held his forehead, with the back of his head resting on the back of his foot. The power gap in the frontal impact caused Itachi to be defeated in an instant. This is the gap in the application of chakra. Quan was not complacent about his victory at all. At the moment of contact with Itachi, she exploded chakra more accurately to increase the speed, and the instant impact caused Itachi to lose balance and then subdued the opponent. Yuan was not surprised by this situation. Itachi's qualifications are excellent, no matter in training, homework or effort. Compared to Quan, he lacks the application of the most critical fighting skills as a ninja. After all, this little girl was always training when she was dreaming. So, isn't the 6-year ninja school too long? Will it really take so long for sanshenjutsu, cultural courses, and the popularization of basic ninja qualities? This question suddenly appeared in Yuan's mind. After thinking about it carefully, he found that the positioning of the ninja school became complicated. For ninja school-age children, ninja school is more like a place for children to expand their communication. But what about civilian ninjas? Mastering sanshenjutsu, and even basic knowledge, is indeed a necessary way for them to become genin. Young ninjas are also able to save their lives in ordinary tasks because of these skills, but what about tasks that require fighting or even on the battlefield? The actual situation is that the casualty rate of civilian ninjas is much higher than that of ninjas. In this context, most of the key positions in Hidden Leaf Village are controlled by ninjas, and the promotion paths for civilian ninjas are shrinking. Leaving aside this topic for the time being, Yuan believes that if students are in school, they can improve their combat literacy. Then, whether it is a mission or a brutal war, the survival rate of the ninjas will be greatly improved. Quan's easy victory over Itachi is the most convincing proof. Hey, Izumi defeated Itachi so easily. Zishui, who came in an instant, appeared quietly. He knows Itachi's strength and level. After all, when he was training with Yuan, this kid Itachi often observed and studied. On the contrary, Quan, who heard that he was specially trained by Yuan, turned out to be much more agile than he imagined. Zishui suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis. Quan won't surpass him soon, right? After all, this little girl had raised Sharingan to Goyu in just half a year, and she didn't even use it in dual training. She wanted to catch up with her improvement speed on the battlefield at that time, but she was only less than 7 years old. Brother Yuan is really terrifying. Quan, next time we will compete in ninjutsu. Yes, according to the agreement, I will not use Sharingan next time. HMPH, stop talking big, I will definitely beat you next time. While forming the seal of reconciliation, Itachi was full of dissatisfaction. She was obviously a weak and crying little girl half a year ago, but now she easily defeated herself. So aggrieved, so uncomfortable. Looking at Itachi, who refused to admit defeat, Yuan secretly nodded. At present, the probability of Itachi's character evolving into genocide and wolf is greatly reduced, but there is a lack of extreme state of mind, and Yuan also has doubts about Itachi's growth. However, Izumi is Itachi's competitor, the future Uchiha. No, by my side, it may not be impossible to have 2 more top ninjas. But, is Quan's attitude too flat? This is not good. Clap clap, Yuan smiled and applauded. Wonderful competition. Quan, you are very proficient in the application of chakra. I am very pleased that you can transform to this point in only half a year. But Itachi, you should pay more attention to details. Success or failure is often hidden in the details. One exaggeration and one derogation. Quan Shao blushed and nodded quietly. Her brows were furrowed as if she was still reviewing the details of the battle just now. Itachi's face turned red, and he looked at Quan with more hostility and firmness. The smile on the corner of Yuan's mouth was more natural. By the way, brother Yuan, the Captain Fuyu has already heard the news that your left hand has recovered. You will join the 3rd Patrol Unit of the police force as my deputy. To be Zishui's deputy. That's right, Zishui came this time to report the news. By the way, find Yuan to train. As a young and famous genius in the clan, Zishui really wants to know how much better he is than Yuan, or how much Yuan is better than himself. Since brother Yuan has recovered, how about practicing with me with all your strength? Of course, Yuan also wanted to know what level his strength was, and Zishui was a good opponent. So, 2 minutes later, after Huo Dun lost to Hong, Shishui used his famous ninjutsu, Phantom Flicker, to make a quick victory. But kunai and shuriken floating all over the sky soon surrounded Zishui's phantom. Seeing this, Yuan lightly threw kunai behind the tree, forcing Zishui's real body out. The trial ended like this, and Zishui was completely defeated. The next day, police force building, captain's office. Zishui, have you arranged Yuan's enlistment ceremony? No, Captain. I'm here to ask you to arrange for Yuan to be the captain of the 3rd unit. Fu Yu sat behind the desk with arms crossed. Shisui's attitude was very sincere, he didn't feel like his subordinates were joking. Is Yuan the team leader? Turn on Zishui of Sengoyu to be Yuan's deputy. Yuan's strength is not bad, Fu Yu knows this. The righteous sister trained by Yuan can easily crush the genius son he is proud of. Fu Yu judged that Yuan's strength was enough to enter the police force, but it was not enough to lead a detachment or serve as a detachment captain's deputy. Letting Yuan be Zishui's deputy in an exceptional way is not only a value, but also an affirmation of Yuan's potential. But what Shisui said, you lost the battle with Yuan. Yes, even more embarrassing than Itachi. Hearing Itachi, the veins on Fuyu's forehead twitched. After all, he was his genius son. After returning home yesterday, I'm afraid that Kid Itachi suffered a disastrous defeat with that vigorous training. So, has Yuan's strength reached the point where he can completely defeat Shishui without riding Sharingan? K. Yuan's qualifications are not enough, Ji Shui. Besides, he needs you to be his guide, so I cannot agree to your request. Inside the police department building, busy clansmen came and went. Yuan closed his eyes and meditated in the repair room of the 3rd team. Clap. The door was pushed open, and Uchiha Takashi, a member of the 3rd unit, went straight to Fuchi. You're the Yuan who didn't open Sharingan, right? Student of Sanin Orochimaru, do you want to fight with me? Who will win, and who will be Captain Shisui's deputy? As a ninja who came back alive from the battlefield, Uchiha Long opened Goryu's Sharingan very early. After returning to Konoha, away from the stimulation of life and death and the grief of the loss of friends, Uchiha Bolong found that his ever-increasing pupil power had stagnated. The peaceful life does make him very comfortable, but the clansmen in the police force are all elites. The stronger the ability, the higher the position and the higher the monthly salary. It is safer than going to the battlefield, and it is more profitable than doing ninja tasks. Therefore, Uchiha Long did not dare to relax his self-requirements at all, and he has been working hard to improve his strength. Until today, 2 years after leaving the battlefield, the 3rd pair of Guyu appeared in the double pupil. Uchiha Bolong, who successfully opened the 3-hook jade, is definitely qualified to be the deputy of the team leader. But as soon as he arrived at the police department building today, he heard some strange rumors. Uchiha Fuchi, who didn't open his eyes, wanted to take his place. Why? Just because he is a student of Sanin, Patriarch's nephew. There is also a police force in the Uchiha, which doesn't work. The tribe only recognizes the strong. What? Don't you dare. Uchiha raised his chin provocatively. Yuan glanced at the members of the security forces watching outside the door, pointed to the right side of Takashi Uchiha, and then disappeared silently. Uchiha Takashi turned his head and saw Yuan Hao sitting in a leisurely manner. Illusion. No, the one on the right has no entity. Laughter erupted outside the door. Long, you've already opened the 3-hook jade, why are you falling for the illusion so easily? Even if you are looking for trouble, you must find the right person. You have been talking to the air for a long time, who knows what you are going to do? Hearing this, Uchiha Takashi stared round with a pair of 3-god jade riding wheel eyes. When he realized something was wrong, he had already used the illusion of Sharingan to bounce back. That Uchiha Fuchi didn't disappear, he just sat in front of him, and the one on the right was the illusion. I didn't fall under the illusion, the ones who really fell under the illusion were the members of the guard team around me. So, when did this guy in front of him cast his illusion? Just when Uchiha Takashi was about to help the onlookers release the illusion. The abyss in front of him collapsed silently again. Do you think you're the only one who didn't get the illusion? Calm inquiries came from all directions, and Uchiha Takashi couldn't see where Yuan was hiding. The huge sense of fear is like the starry sky collapsing on him. Uchiha Takashi took a deep breath. Did my Sharingan really rebound the illusion? Single quote. Members of the surrounding security forces, are they really under the illusion? Or do they really exist? Single quote. Now I have indeed been hit by an illusion, but why don't I even have the ability to resist at all? Even the seal of dispelling the illusion is fake. Single quote. Fear, trembling, and disorientation kept climbing up from the heels. Uchiha Long felt his esophagus being pulled and his stomach being clenched. He had only experienced such extreme emotional and physical changes on the battlefield. At that time, friends in the family died to protect themselves. Snapped. There was a clear snap of fingers in his ears. The light and shadow changed for a moment, and Uchiha Long finally saw clearly the clansman he was looking for, Uchiha Fuchi. He was sitting in front of him as if nothing had happened. Are you okay? Is it an upset stomach? If you want to throw up, please go to the toilet. Uchiha Long didn't hear what the person in front of him was saying clearly, he frantically captured the surrounding information. The clansman came and went outside the door, and the footsteps were noisy. He even heard greetings such as, "Hi Captain. I have indeed dispelled the illusion, have I woken up? Long, are you okay?" Someone patted his shoulder from behind, and Uchiha Bolong jumped up half an inch trembling all over. Turning around, I saw Captain Fuyu standing behind him. Long, you said you were in the garrison. Don't open Sharingan if it is not necessary. This is not a battlefield. Uchiha Bolong, who finally realized his gaffe, tried his best to calm himself down. Hold, I'm sorry Captain, I don't feel well today, and I want to ask for a day off. Understood. Go back and rest, Sengoyu is just your starting point, not the end. Uchiha Bolong quickly turned around and fled away, he had already left behind the idea of being the sub-captain's deputy. Only then did Fuyu look at Yuan in surprise. Originally, he still planned to let Yuan be Zishui's assistant to familiarize himself with the working environment according to the established plan. But on the way here, Fuyu suddenly noticed some subtle differences. The early summer breeze is wrapped in the fragrance of flowers, which actually contains chakra. That feeling of familiarity is an illusion. With the pupil power of Fuyu's Sharingan, it is not impossible to resist this level of illusion. Who can perform the spell? Sharingan illusion does not require such a complicated method. Fuyu looked at Yuan, and it could only be this Uchiha clansman who didn't even open Sharingan. Promoting Yuan as Shisui's deputy is an exception, and Uchiha Bolong is also dissatisfied with this matter. It can be seen that his contest with Yuan was a complete defeat. Has Yuan grown to the point where he can fight against the Sengodama Uchiha tribe without writing Sharingan? It seems that Orochimaru's illusion skills are more terrifying than imagined. Fuyu pondered for a while, and clapped his hands to signal the members of the police force to look over. From today, Uchiha Fuchi will be the captain of the third team, and the former team leader Shisui will be Uchiha Fuchi's deputy. Zishui leaned over and said quietly, "Brother Yuan, what did you do?" The idea of letting you be the deputy just before the captain insisted. Yuan listened to all this calmly. After mastering the Kurama family's Shueiji illusion, it is not difficult to briefly drag ninjas within 100 meters around into the illusion space that completely restores reality. He was just playing tricks on Uchiha Long in the illusion space, making the members of the passing police force ignore the situation in the third unit's repair room. It also made Fuyu notice some faint traces of chakra. It can be said that at that moment, everyone in the entire police force building was immersed in the illusion called reality. On the contrary, Fuyu's appointment was not influenced by Yuan's illusion. Come to think of it, my old uncle probably saw the so-called potential from the illusion confrontation just now. It's not bad to be the captain, at least when you stabilize, you can dispatch the whole team to seek Yinjuwei as a cover for yourself. Single quote. With a slight movement in his mind, Yuan looked around. In addition to Shimizu Fugaku, the Uchiha people in the police force are looking at them with eyes full of complex emotions such as scrutiny, doubt, and resentment. Yuan maintained a natural smile and looked back. I'm afraid I won't be able to be so leisurely in the days to come. Even illusions can't easily change the character and habits of the clansmen. Single quote. After a busy day, Yuan came to the laboratory under the Konoha Hospital. In the past 6 months, apart from the daily ninja training, the Orochimaru class seems to have returned to the scientific research time during the World War III. It's just that they don't have to be anxious and hasty now, they are more rigorous and meticulous. Hyuga Ling is checking the data of an animal cell replication experiment with Yuan. After the door was pushed open with a click, Ling saw Uchiha Fuchi at the door, and the one beside him turned into white smoke and dissipated. Shadow clone. The scene suddenly became awkward. Uchiha Hitomi, you actually fooled us with a shadow clone. Hongdu's impression of his senior brother being unreliable has increased a bit. As for Kurama Zion and Hyuga Ling, they looked at each other calmly. Yuan-jun, you'd better give us an explanation. Zion said with a bad face, she is the group leader. Yuan-jun, you are really going too far. Ling squinted and Zion spoke in concern. It's not impossible to use the shadow clone to do research, but Mr. Yuan, you should know that it is easy to cause damage to the brain. Even if the most basic, living body replication technology, is being researched now, we must pay attention to the body. Ling makes sense. Hongdu agreed. Uchiha Fuchi's mouth twitched. Ling and Zion looked at each other and could vaguely see electric sparks, but Hongdu didn't seem to notice anything. However, Uchiha Hitomi is your fault first, if you don't apologize. Before Hongdu finished speaking, Ling and Zion's eyes shifted to the innocent junior sister at the same time. Yuan sighed. Let's talk about this matter later. Didn't you say that the dean will evaluate the living body replication experiment tonight? If the evaluation potential is not good, the experiment will be suspended. Hearing Yuan said this, several people consciously became busy. Originally, the dean of Konoha Hospital led the assessment team, but I didn't expect that besides this middle-aged man with black-rimmed glasses, the third Hokage and Danzo were also present. The Orochimaru class, except Yuan, believes that Konoha's senior management has never paid attention to the teacher's achievements in scientific research, and this time may be a good opportunity. In the review meeting room, those who hold the power of Ninja Village looked at the documents. That is to say, if you use the old man's cells, can you really create a body exactly like the old man's when you were young? Hiruza Sarutobi was not interested in the so-called new technology. Nearly 10 years ago, Hiruzen Sarutobi, who anticipated the possibility of another ninja war, appointed Danzo and Orochimaru to study Mutun with all their strength. But with the failure of the experiment, Sarutobi Hiruzen's expectations for these so-called new technologies continued to decrease. In his opinion, from the first generation of Hokage, Konoha's huge foundation was built on the pile of ninja bones. It can be said that all ninja villages are established and exist on the ninja's bone mountain. Only the will of fire can alleviate this fundamental contradiction. As for those so-called new technologies, if they didn't even kill the enemy, they would sacrifice countless lives of their own. It's a little ridiculous. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought to himself that he was not the second Hokage, nor did he have the energy to develop forbidden arts. What's more, the Konoha family has a big business. As long as they cultivate their health and rest for a few years, they still look down upon the 4 great ninja villages. I have reservations about life-body replication technology. Hiruzuru Sarutobi thought for a while and said calmly. Hi-zan, I think this technology has great potential. Orochimaru's talent may be even better than that of the teacher. Compared with Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo understands the experiment of Orochimaru better. You guys, do you have anything else to say? If it's just this level, what's the difference from Ninja Village training a ninja? The dean added that he also admired Orochimaru's talents. Give me some reasons to convince Rizan. Danzo looked at the Orochimaru class. As for the reason, I know some. Yuan calmly raised his hand. Before Yuan stated the relevant reasons, he quickly went through Konoha's scientific research process in his mind. After Senju Hima became the second generation of Hokage, through the development of forbidden techniques and the research of Mutun Basara cells, the prototype of Konoha's scientific research system was initially established. But before he could further perfect his own research, the pioneering Hokage passed away because of the betrayal of his allies. When it came to the period of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, it was Shimura Danzo who inherited the scientific research inheritance of Sensho Kaijian. Relying on various forbidden techniques and scientific research materials, he brought Sarutobi Hiruzen's most proud disciple Orochimaru under his command. And Orochimaru is the master of Konoha's scientific research inheritance. To a certain extent, he abandoned the study of interfering with the human body from the perspective of ninjutsu. Disappointed with the fragility of life and longing for longevity, he began to directly explore the essence of the body and soul. However, the consumption of experimental materials by these taboo studies is too appalling, and the impact on ethics and morality is even more exaggerated. In addition, Orochimaru has a completely different ideological consciousness from traditional ninjas. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen, who watched him grow up, no longer believed in Orochimaru's character. There is no shortage of reasons why Sarutobi Hiruzen rejects taboo technologies. As for the present, Konoha's high-level review of the experiment of life-body replication technology will determine whether the experiment can continue. These are also the key to Yuan's acquisition of genetic technology through scientific research, which is related to the research of mutant interpillar cells and the exploration of his own gene phagocytosis and fusion ability. Just copying life forms is not enough to reflect the advantages of this technology. Compared to traditional medical ninjutsu, the advantages of replicating life-creating organs may not be so obvious. But for many blood succession families, this technology is enough to control the special abilities of a small number of ninjas in the hands of ordinary ninjas. And also, before Yuan finished speaking, he was interrupted by Danzang knocking on the table. If this technology is mature, can blood successors such as Mutun, Sharingan, and even Bian appear on ordinary ninjas? Danzo's expression was calm, but Yuan could see the greed floating in the depths of his eyes. Theoretically speaking, this possibility is completely possible. Hearing this, Danzo pondered for a long time. At the beginning, he also participated in the experiment of transplanting the cells between the pillars into the baby's body to create the wooden escape ninja. As for the information on the living body replication technology, in front of him, Danzang has seen it all. He probably understands that if this technology matures, the experimental body in the embryonic stage may have the opportunity to completely inherit Mudun after it grows up. More importantly, there are bloodstains such as Sharingan and white eyes. Which one of the blood succession limits passed down in Konoha Ninja Village is not well known in the ninja world. The deeper the qualifications, the more Danzo can understand the natural gap between ordinary ninjas and blood successor ninjas, which cannot be made up by hard work. So, these are just theoretical possibilities, aren't they? Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at the young Uchiha. Yes, Naruto-sama. Once the life-body copy technology is successfully researched, it will become quite easy to expand the number of blood successor ninjas, and even the strength of ordinary ninjas will be greatly improved in a short period of time. Yuan calmly affirmed. Did that guy from Orochimaru tell you all this? No. I came to the conclusion after independent thinking inspired by teacher Dashimaru. Vaguely, Sarutobi Hiruzen actually saw the shadow of Orochimaru from the young man in front of him. Disregarding taboos and morality like nothing, frantically chasing power, regardless of all costs. Such an evil flame has already lingered on the evil Uchiha. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes suddenly became serious. The Midori Anko man beside him was a little dizzy. Why did the always unreliable brother suddenly become as evil as the teacher Orochimaru? Although she still doesn't know much about the many conflicts in the village, no one would be willing to ask the Shueiji ninja clan to hand over their bottom-of-the-box skills. As for Kurama Zion and Hinata Ryo, they were a little moved. Yuan knew the importance of the life-body replication technology to them. Kei Ling and Zion looked at each other, and found that the other party was as pleased as himself. The two girls were puzzled. Ling, Zion, why are you so happy? Single quote. The sinister one-eyed old man shook the table. Nichizane, I think this technology is very promising. After the death of the fourth generation, the strength of Ninja Village is not as good as before. Even if this technology cannot be perfected in the short term, in the long run, it will eventually be able to increase the strength of Ninja Village. It's what we need. Danzo sincerely recommends. No, Danzo, you underestimate the time consumption of a technology from development to application. Teacher, you and Orochimaru have not been able to reproduce Mutun, let alone this immature technology. Also, Once this technology is successfully developed, if the control is not effective, it will involve too much, and it is not a matter that can be settled at the moment. After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, he left with his hands behind his back. Son Zan, you will regret it. Danzo, I am Hokage. Hearing this, Hiruzuru Sarutobi turned his head and scolded, then turned and left the meeting room. As for Danzo, he could only take a few deep breaths and catch up calmly. Yuan watched with clear eyes. What he said just now was not his sudden intention. Among them, expanding the number of blood-successful ninjas, and even innovating the bloodlines of ordinary ninjas. Not to mention whether it can be done easily, it can be seen that Hiruzuru Sarutobi hates this very much. It's not so much that he lacks the drive to accept new things, or even change. It would be better to say that this is the original appearance of Sarutobi Hiruzen. When he was young, he was overly conceited of his own strength, and even dared to inherit the title of God of Ninja from the first generation to persuade the half-god Sanshoyu Hanzo of Yuyin village in public opinion. But as Hokage stays longer, I'm afraid even Hiruzuru Sarutobi will also realize that he can't do what he wants. During World War II and World War III, Konoha fought 2 to 4 ninja villages at the same time. Even if they won miserably in the end, the strength of hidden villages was not as good as before. During the reign of the 4th Hokage, Hiruzuru Sarutobi was behind the scenes in charge of the affairs of Ninja Village, and even after the night of the Kyuubi, he regained the position of Hokage. I'm afraid even Hiruzuru Sarutobi doesn't know, is he worried about young people and wants to burn his last life for the village? Or, Sarutobi Hiruza just likes the feeling of being in control. Ninjas are also human beings with the instinct to think and desire. Yuan didn't think there was anything wrong with the current Sarutobi Hiruzen. But in the future, this old man will become more and more stupid, and he will not be qualified for the position of Hokage at all. On the contrary, Danzo, the Hokage assistant, is quite enthusiastic about new technologies, and he obviously has evil intentions. Apart from thinking about Sharingan, he also has the ambition to subdue Kyuubi through Wooden Dungeon. If these two guys disappear at the top of Konoha, what changes will happen to Hidden Village? Yuan couldn't help thinking. The demonstration meeting on the living body replication technology ended soon, and the faces of several people in the Orochimaru class were not very good. The attitude of the 3rd Hokage is obvious, and he is the decision-maker who decides whether the scientific research project will continue. Just when several people returned to laboratory planning to destroy and clean up the progress of the experiment, the director of Konoha Hospital, wearing black-rimmed glasses, hurried over. What are you guys doing? This is precious experimental data. It will be used in the future. Hearing this, Zion, Ling and Hongdu are very happy. Uchiha Yuan sighed silently. Sure enough, Dean Konoha, with black-rimmed eyes, informed the Orochimaru class that the experimental project was preserved. Half a year of hard work has not been wasted, and even the fate of the future may be changed because of this. The smiles on Ling and Zion's faces were beyond words, and Hongdu was also infected by this happy atmosphere. After all, with the current progress of the experiment, the replication of animal cells is only completed, which is still far from what Uchiha Fuchi said about blood succession equality. You guys, don't be too happy. First of all, I have to thank Oshimaru-sama for such an opportunity. The dean seems to be a heartfelt fan of Orochimaru. Of course, the most important thing is Danzang-sama, who sees the potential of the life-body replication experimental project. Okay, here are the relevant documents of the experimental confidentiality agreement and routine matters. While distributing the forms, the dean explained the precautions for the future. Yuan did not sign the request on the spot after hearing that the experiment was highly confidential and that only ontology was allowed to participate in the experiment and no disclosure was required. The dean felt sorry for this but did not persuade him. The excitement of the 3 female ninjas in the Orochimaru class quickly faded. They didn't ask Yuan about the specific reasons. Yuan was a trustworthy companion along the way. It's just today, Shouldn't Mr. Yuan, who has been fooled by the shadow clone during this time, be punished? Ling, why is your heart dark when you have pure white eyes? Just right, the experimental equipment will also be expanded, and there will be a week's worth of experimental materials to be transported, so I will trouble you. After all, you are the only boy among us. As expected of being the person in charge, Zion knew the progress of the whole experiment like the palm of his hand. Then what about us? Do we want to watch Uchiha Yuan work? I feel so pitiful for him. It is rare for Hongdu to find a chance to share a common enemy with two close friends. To celebrate, let's eat barbecue. Let's go first. Mr. Yuan, remember to pay the bill. Okay, what else can Yuan say about this? In the past 6 months, my shadow avatar has also been conscientious. Okay. With the help of the shadow clone, it took half an hour to complete the handling operation. It was already 9 o'clock in the evening when Yuan left laboratory. In Muyayan village, the busiest and lively aftertaste of the day has not completely dissipated. There are many people coming and going on the street, and the lights and festoons are everywhere. At the edge of the halo of the street lights, an old man with a bandage on his head stepped out. After the meeting, Danzo did not leave immediately. Uchiha Fuchi, I have been waiting for you for a long time. The cold and hoarse voice scratched the eardrums, and Yuan showed a proper expression of surprise. Danzo-sama, what can you do for me? At the meeting just now, the old man learned that you are more talented than Orochimaru. Maybe even you are not aware of the darkness deep in your heart, but this old man can guide you. If it was an ordinary Konoha ninja who suddenly encountered Danzo talking like this, he would probably have to suspect that the old man had a problem with his brain before realizing that it was a solicitation. Yuan is not interested in either of these. Danzo has great ambitions, aiming at the entire ninja world. The technical potential mentioned in the previous meeting obviously resonated with the ambition of the high-level Konoha. What's more, I have the same unique attainment in the spiritualization technique. If I don't kill it, I can only try to bring it under my command. Danzo's solicitation was within Yuan's expectations. Danzo-sama, with all due respect. In the meeting just now, my words may have been too direct, but those were the true thoughts of Mr. Oshimaru. Now that he is not in Konoha, I can only explain it for the teacher. Yuan thought to himself that even if Orochimaru was present, he would not refute. It seems that you haven't fully realized the darkness in your heart yet. Alright, you're working in the police force today. The old man has granted you permission to join the experimental project with your original identity. This, Master Danzo. Yuan looked shocked. He did not sign the non-disclosure agreement given by the dean on the spot. The reason he gave was that it took time to choose between the police force and scientific research projects. Danzo can personally solve this problem, which is not good intentions. It is a test of the Uchiha family with technological prospects, and it is also to find help for pursuing their own ambitions. Well, one day, you will have a deeper understanding of the darkness of the village and the ninja. At that time, the root in charge of the old man welcomes you at any time. After speaking, Danzo walked away. Yuan stopped for a while, then turned around and walked towards the street of Hokage building, which was completely different from the direction to go to Barbecue Q. Are you walking alone? The old man can tell that what you said at night was not from your heart. Is it because your teacher Orochimaru was forced to leave the village and live in the country of the sea? About half a kilometer away from the Hokage building, the third Hokage quietly appeared and walked with Yuan. The old man was also not in a hurry to return. Sarutobi Hiruzuru was also interested in the new things that his most proud disciple Orochimaru was tinkering with. But that disciple is an uncontrollable, emotionless snake. 3 generations of Hokage-sama. Yuan once again showed appropriate surprise and said respectfully, "No, I did think deeply about the reasons I said at night. But I always feel that I can't get rid of the influence of Mr. Orochimaru. Perhaps, the teacher's idea is right." Hiruzuru Sarutobi pondered. Yuan, you must know more about the influence of the Nine Tails Rebellion on Uchiha than the old man, and the prestige of the police force among the Konoha villagers has been greatly reduced. Yuan nodded. Being part of the Uchiha clan, he naturally understood the villagers' hostility better than Hokage who lived above him. Yuan, do you think it's because the strength of the Uchiha clan is not as good as before? On the night of the Nine Tails, the police force in charge of the villagers' evacuation did not suffer many casualties, but the Jonin in the village suffered heavy casualties. In a disguised form, the strength of the Uchiha clan has increased instead. Yuan pondered for a while, and sighed. No, it's because in the eyes of you, Hokage-sama, and many villagers, we Uchiha are no longer trustworthy. You can understand this, and you are obviously smarter than that kid from Orochimaru. In Konoha, whether it is for ninjas or ordinary ninjas, strength is not the key to solving problems. Among the Uchiha clan, there used to be people who thought like you. If you feel lost on this path, you might as well talk to this old man more. After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, he turned and walked into the Hokage building. From an angle that no one could see, Yuan's expression became playful. Whether it is the third generation or Danzang, in Yuan's view, their promises are worthless. It's a waste of time, it's better to eat barbecue. Single quote. Yuan turned around and hurried towards the barbecue restaurant, wanting to have a good meal before paying the bill. For a whole day, Uchiha Bolong was in a daze. He obeyed Fuyu's order and went home to rest, but just as he closed his eyes, he was awakened by the throbbing in his heart. Why did I fall into the illusion when I had clearly opened the three-hook jade? And the self lying in front of him, is he in an illusion? Still in reality? The self-confident person was completely defeated, and Uchiha Bolong became bewildered. Long, are you at home? The door is not locked. I'll just come in. When Uchiha Inahide came in, he saw the usual confident and diligent huddling at the foot of the bed. Long, what's the matter with you? Even if the captain handed over the position that should have been given to you by Uchiha Yuan, you don't have to be so depressed. Ah, don't mention that name. Uchiha Takashi hugged his head and beat it hard, as if he wanted to beat that name out. The scene in front of him made Uchiha Inahara, the leader of the 4th unit, look serious. Long, this guy's appearance doesn't mean he has awakened a higher form of Sharingan, right? Uchiha Inahi knows some family secrets. It is said that there is a more powerful power above the Sangoyu Sharingan. The ancestor Uchiha Madara mastered a higher level of Sharingan power, which attracted the fear of the 1st and 2nd generations of Naruto, and was forced to leave the village. Long, could it be? Taking a closer look, Daohuo found that the edge of Takashi's cornea was covered with bloodshot eyes, and his eyes were hollow as if under an illusion. This kind of performance should not appear on the clansmen who survived the battlefield. During the day. It's an illusion during the day. That's right, that guy Uchiha Yuan's illusion is very weird. I shouldn't have shot it rashly. Yes, I should find out about him first. Ah, but he can play with my cognition casually with illusion. How can I figure out his details? Long roared out suddenly, and Daohuo was terrified. Takashi had troubled Uchiha Fuchi during the day, and was deflated in the opponent's hands in front of the captain. Single quote. The other party's method is illusion. Can a Uchiha who doesn't open his eyes easily suppress Sangoyu Sharingan? Single quote. Simply incredible. After a few words of persuasion to Long who didn't respond, Daohuo didn't stay long. Outside the courtyard, a tall Uchiha with a crew cut was smoking and waiting. Why is it taking so long? That boy Long did open the three-hook jade. Yes, Vice Captain Yatsushiro, Kolong's mental state is not right. Okay, Uchiha Yatsushiro widened his eyes and threw away the half-burned cigarette. It's not the power of Sharingan at a higher level. Takadai has troubled Uchiha Yuan, and it seems that he was easily crushed by the other party with illusion, causing mental trauma. As soon as Inahara finished explaining, Yatsushiro's expression became strange. Isn't it a higher level Sharingan? Easily suppressing Sangoyu. This guy Uchiha Yuan seems to have learned a lot in Orochimaru. Did Fuyu arrange it specially? What exactly does he want to do? The next day, after Uchiha Yuan arranged for the shadow clone to go to the experiment, the main body went to the police force. On his first day of employment yesterday, under the leadership of Zishui, Yuan had a preliminary understanding of the power of the police force. In Konoha Hidden Village, the law promulgated by the Fire Nation's legislature is implemented. Ninjas are as guilty of breaking the law as civilians. The police force has the power to enforce the law within Muyayin Village. Daily patrolling, interrogation and ideological education are the main activities, and serious cases will be handed over to the prison. The third team repaired the interior. Captain, you are here. In 15 minutes, the third team will start today's patrol work. Please take a look at the route here. Zishui handed Yuan a planned map. Yuan glanced at the Namian hull in the corner of the map. Because the patrol area was not fixed, he had the opportunity to pass there twice a week. Today, and the day after tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, I've written down the route, so we'll leave in 15 minutes. On Muya Avenue, Yuan and Zishui paced slowly. More than half a year has passed, and the hostility of the Konoha villagers has eased a lot. After all, in the past 6 months, under Fuyu's strict requirements, the police force still maintains the mild law enforcement habits it had before the Nine Tails Night. After going through the initial pointing and cursing, most of the simple Konoha villagers now find that Uchiha is still the same Uchiha who protected the village before. Only those idiots who have committed crimes will yell at the police force, and the intensity of law enforcement can only be said to be legal and compliant. As for the estrangement between the police force and Muya village, which has never disappeared, it has invisibly aggravated a lot in the past 6 months. For Yuan, it doesn't matter much. At the gate of Muya Yin village, Yuan and Zishui stopped to enjoy the coolness and drink iced drinks. Under the nearby parasols are the two Konoha door gods, Shenyu Izumo and Gang Ziti. Yuan was deeply impressed by them, not because of their shocking performance in the ninja school. Mainly steel weapons, the exaggerated shape looks like the blind right eye of Mio Iso Fumiji. Yuan thought to himself, the immortal of the 6 paths wouldn't have any major faults in taste, would he just blind one eye for Sanweijio? More importantly, if the weapon sealed in the scroll by Gangzi Iron is really the flesh and blood of the 3 tails, then, like obtaining Pommel horse blood successor, it is not impossible to obtain a complete ice escape. Taking advantage of the gap between putting down the water glass, Yuan glanced at the bulging trouser pocket, and the club cubes at the corners of a few poker cards came into his pupils. Zishui, let's stop here in the morning. Let's go back to the canteen of the police force for dinner, and we will go to patrol further in the afternoon. Okay, Captain. Near Nanga Shrine, Uchiha Yatsushiro, who had just finished his patrol, wiped off the sweat on his forehead, and walked into this place where Uchiha's faith is condensed. The stooped white-haired old man was burying himself in tending the wilted herbs in the flower bed. Master Setsuna, Yashira's expression became respectful. During the reign of the second Hokage, the old man in front of him almost pushed the Uchiha clan to rebel against Konoha. In the eyes of 8 generations, it is a prophet who can give the Uchiha family another future. Yatsushiro, is there something urgent? Uchiha Setsuna was washing his hands with the water in the watering can, and wiped the hem of the clean priest's uniform without hesitation. Yes, Lord Setsuna. Just yesterday, there was an additional member of the Sengoyu clan in the clan. But a strange thing happened. There is no strange thing in this world, it's just that we can't understand it temporarily with our mortal knowledge. Let's talk about it. Hearing this, Yatsushiro became more respectful. The Sengoyu clansman was named Long, and he was severely injured by a young man who was good at illusion just after he opened his eyes. The young man's name is Yuan. He is Fuyu's nephew, Toyama and Mizu's son, and a student of Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas. He has not even opened Sharingan at the age of 16. Moment pondered. Did that guy from Toyama mess with the Kurama family? Or Mizu? Yashira wiped the cold sweat off his brow. No, Setsuna-sama. I have investigated Fuchi's birth records, and the relationship between Toyama and Mizu. They have nothing to do with the Kurama family. I know about it, Yadai, you go back. Yes, Lord Setsuna. When the eyeliner arranged in the police force went away, Setsuna Uchiha slowly paced into the depths of the shrine. He took out a scroll from the desk, bit his fingertips and activated the summoning spell. Half a minute later, a transparent ripple silently emerged from the air. Setsuna, what's the matter with you? Uchiha Setsuna respectfully touched the ground with one knee. Master Madara, I have found the clansman you ordered with kaleidoscope pupil power. His name is Uchiha Yuan. Really, tell me. After Setsu recounted Yatsudai's news, Madara, wearing an orange spiral mask, laughed. It's not him. I know Uchiha Yuan. He just got something out of the 3 Tails hunting plan. Understood. I was too impatient. Thank you Madara-sama for explaining the confusion. Sorry to bother you. The transparent ripples in the air twisted again, and when Setsu looked up, Madara-sama had disappeared. What an amazing kaleidoscope pupil power. Instantly praised piously. The land of the Uchiha tribe, outside the Tugia. It was noon, and there was no one around. Blade, with an orange mask, emerged silently, looking through the clear glass. He looked at a quiet and well-behaved little girl who was helping the old lady with dinner. It was supposed to be where he lived. Throughout the afternoon, Yuan and Zishui patrolled the Hidden Leaf village according to the established route. Today's mission was exceptionally smooth, and no crimes were encountered. In the gazebo on the edge of the village, the two are temporarily repairing. Yuan gulped down water and looked at Namian Hall tens of meters away. The monks were sitting cross-legged on the square doing evening classes. In the hall behind them was a wooden frame covered by a huge red curtain. Occasionally there is a breeze blowing, and the style of the death mask can be seen faintly, with a total of 27 pairs in 3 rows and 9 columns. Yuan has recalled the position and shape of the seal yin 9 tails thousands of times in his mind. As for Namiantang, there is a small piece of lush and cold pines and cypresses, and a 2-story wooden dormitory building is located in it. There are few residential houses around, and the main road leading to the Hokage building is very close. Yuan wiped the sweat off his forehead, and restored all the details in the illusion space with his eyes flicking. Captain, it's almost time, we should go back. Zishui glanced at the slanting sun. He could return to the police force building before dark. If he didn't work overtime, he could get off the morning shift today. Yuan nodded, and casually threw the empty water bottle into the trash can on the ground of the red carp. But the mouth of the barrel was deformed, and the plastic bottle bounced back after touching the edge of the twisted frame. Yuan bent down and stuffed the plastic bottle into the trash can on the floor, and patted the lid by the way. Let's go back, Shisui. Captain Fujigaku also arranged for tomorrow's morning training. Yes, Captain. This is the internal training of the police force, and it is related to the face of each unit. Zishui introduced while walking. When working, he no longer observes and thinks as usual, and is Yuan's rigorous and reliable junior. Then we have to do our best. Yuan and Zishui talked about leaving. A few minutes later, an Anbu ninja suddenly appeared in front of a trash can on the floor. After searching several times, Anbu ninja murmured, "Is it an illusion?" Single quote. Anbu ninja turned his head and looked around, but after a pause in the direction of Namiantang, he left instantly. At the end of a day's work, Yuan returned home rubbing his brows, tiredly. Obito's grandma was preparing dinner, and Izumi, who was doing his homework, raised his head and stared at Yuan, the foster brother, in a grievous way. Obviously promised to do ninjutsu training after school, but this busy man actually dove him. It must be too rude. Of course, Quan only dared to complain a little in his heart. Now the foster brother is the only one who can make money in the family, which makes Quan feel that he has to grow up as soon as possible. The fried eel is ready. When Obito grandma walked into the restaurant with a steaming pot, a strong aroma lingered in her nose. When holding the bowls and chopsticks to serve the white rice, Yuanruo turned his head and looked out the window with some feeling. The lonely street lights were on, and there were no pedestrians. So, it must not be an illusion. Single quote. Yuan buried his head in the rice as if nothing had happened. Under the street lamp outside the window, the silent space rippled and fluctuated, and Obito with an orange spiral mask emerged in the darkness. He stared into the window, as if he could feel the lively atmosphere. Highway lurking in the soil layer asked with an inaudible voice. Okay Obito, let's make a decision. Is it to train Uchiha who is about your age? Or choose the younger two? After all, they are easier to master. Obito was silent for a while. Madara's plan is also my dream. Uchiha Yuan is too old. He may not be able to live longer than me. Let's try the youngest one first. Well, as expected, you are a good boy, Obito. Early the next morning, Uchiha Yuan dressed up and came to the training ground near the clan. Today, it is the internal training of the police force that Captain Fuyu has planned long ago. This is a tradition handed down by the ethnic group from the Warring States period, and it is also a necessary means to maintain the combat power of the ethnic group in a relatively peaceful period. Team leader, Zishui saw Yuan waving hello from a distance. Beside him, several other members of the third team were talking coldly. I'm sorry, Captain. Yesterday I was sick and couldn't participate in the patrol mission. Uchiha Takashi stood in front of Yuan with a pale face. his eyelids drooped, and he lacked the courage to look directly. When Nagabuchi warned Uchiha Bolong with Shueigenjutsu, he also gave a psychological hint. It is an illusion application of converting chakra into electrons to interfere with brain signals, imitating Longshan Chong. As long as Uchiha Bolong recalls the scene at that time, he will be unable to control his emotions due to intermittent nerve impulses in his brain. This illusion can be said to be the ninja version of spiritual pollution. Now it seems that this member of the third team has developed feelings of fear of himself. Sure enough, is the fear of the unknown a human instinct? It doesn't matter, for a ninja, the body is equally important. While being relieved, Yuan's eyes moved slightly, dispelling the illusion. Thank you, Captain, for your understanding. I'm fine now, I can always. Uchiha Takashi looked surprised, looked up, and saw Yuan Ping's eyes. Is there anything else you need? If not, just concentrate on this training. Yes, Captain. Uchiha Bolong's heart was beating wildly, he knew it. Not only was he teased by the illusion the day before yesterday, but even the discomfort these 2 days was caused by the captain. Is this a soft warning? The captain didn't even open Sharingan. It is indescribable. While Uchiha Takashi felt humiliation in his heart, it was more yearning. On the side, the members of the third team whispered, when did this boy Long change his face so quickly? A few days ago, he was stern looking for trouble, why is he docile today? They who wanted to have fun were disappointed, but also laughed in their hearts. The captain who didn't even open Sharingan is not as strong as Long. Long is so obedient, is it still Uchiha? Uchiha Inahara, who was a little farther away, paid attention to the situation of the third team after Yuan arrived. Captain, I've made a note of what you just ordered. Compete with the new captain of the third division, right? Those clansmen who haven't opened Sharingan are still handy. Uchiha Tiehuo, who wears the three-god jade to right sharing eyes, believes in himself. No, you'd better just watch from the sidelines, and let me compete with him. Captain, Zishui is even worse than you, the clansmen who didn't open their eyes, as for you to do it yourself. This is an order. With Fuyu's arrival, the internal training of the police force officially began. After the competition between Shuriken and Fire Ninjutsu, it was a trial between the team leaders. As soon as the ordinary members of the third team lost to the fourth team by a narrow margin, they heard Inahara shouting to challenge the captain Uchiha Hitomi, and they once again thought of having fun. Fuyu stood in the center of the training ground with arms folded, and it was within his expectation that Yuan was challenged. As the squad leader, my nephew needs prestige within the police force. In the Uchiha clan, strength is the best prestige and reputation. Daohuo, Yuan, come out. Yuan is also very interested in this. After all, the devil training in the illusion space is less interesting than real combat. Across tens of meters, Fuchi and Uchiha Inahara formed a seal of opposition. Fuyu gave an order, and Yuan disappeared in place. Whether it was Long's performance last night, or what he saw with his own eyes this morning, Daohuo didn't dare to underestimate this tribe member who has not yet opened his eyes. He directly opened the three Guyu Sharingan, although he didn't see through the opponent's instant body art. But Daohuo caught Yuan's figure above. At the same time as he raised his head, the imprint of the fireball in his hand had been completed and was about to be exhaled. Yuanzhong rose into the sky, and dozens of shurikens were thrown by him and shot down from the midair. The Sangudama Sharingan, which was vibrating at high speed, instantly discerned the speed and direction of the ninja throwing. He judged that after being interfered by ninjutsu, the trajectories of these shuriken kunai would change, and there was absolutely no guarantee of accuracy. However, Yuan, the arrogant captain of the third team, was unable to dodge in midair with the basic, big fireball technique. Daohuo, who felt that he was holding the winning ticket, did not move in place, and unhurriedly squeezed the thumb and index finger of his left hand in front of his mouth to spray out fireballs. The high-temperature flame has not yet erupted, and Daohuo feels his throat tighten. Out of the corner of my eye, the upside-down Ku Wushang is on the Adam's apple. Yuan's steady voice sounded from behind. Is that the captain of the fourth team, Uchiha Inahide Senpai? You have already lost. After observing the entire battle with Sharingan, the Uchiha people are frowning and thinking about the strengths of the winner and the weaknesses of the loser. They didn't even have time to gasp for the heat on the training ground. This is the pure Uchiha bloodline, all of them look like martial idiots. Shisui stared at a pair of Sango Jade, carefully observing the ninja tools used by Yuan. Compared with the previous training, these Ku Wusheng no longer have sealing techniques. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The captain's shuriken skills have improved without knowing it, and I haven't even learned it. On the side, the members of the third team were quite happy after being surprised. After all, the team lost to the fourth team and couldn't bear it, but the captain saved them face in a blink of an eye. What? Not long ago, you still wanted to have fun, but you hated the captain for not opening your eyes. Who is that? The members of our third team don't know each other. On the other hand, Long, who is also an ordinary player, is in a good mood, and he has sharp eyesight after returning from the battlefield. It was quickly analyzed that Captain Yuan used Tenkong to deliberately create a loophole to lure Captain Inaohuo to use fire escape ninjutsu, relying on flames to block the gap in the vision of Sharingan, and instantly defeated Captain Inaohuo. With hindsight, Long actually felt that the captain was more like a person who survived the battlefield than himself. He has already designed a trap, waiting for his opponent to get in, like a seasoned hunter. As the organizer of the training, Fuyu had a complicated expression after the competition. His pupil power is much stronger than that of ordinary three-hook jade, not to mention being able to capture Yuan's instant body technique. He even found the chakra phantom left in place. After some observation, Fuyu thinks that this is Yuan's imitation of Shisui's phantom instant body art. But Fuyu thinks that the ability to control objects with empty hands should come from Orochimaru. After thinking about it for a while, Fuyu recalled it. Isn't this nephew who didn't open his eyes so majestic a slap in the face of Uchiha? He suddenly felt that before Yuan opened Sharingan, he didn't need to participate in the training or even the clan meeting. Young people need precipitation. After such a decision, Fuyu announced that the training would continue. On the other hand, Yatsushiro Uchiha was astonished, and Shindao wanted to inform Master Setsuna of the news of this rising star Uchiha as soon as possible. Hearing that it was going to continue, Yuan could only quickly pick up the ninja tools scattered on the training ground. No, Zishui brought the entire third team to help. There were more than a dozen shurikens in total, and 9 people had to pick them up. The scene of you fighting over each other made Yuan laugh. Before, the attitude of these team members was still very indifferent, but now it was like a different person. Shishui on the side picked up a kunai with a sealing spell and looked at it carefully. Doubts arose in his heart. He clearly remembered that during the battle, the blade used by Yuan did not have a sealing spell. Could it be that everything just now was an illusion? Accidentally discovering the truth makes Zishui feel a sense of urgency about his own strength. Police force training ends near 7 in the morning. Because the clan land has already been relocated to the edge of the village, adjacent to the training ground. Yuan was able to go home and have breakfast after training. Your name is Yuan, right? You are the son of Toyama and Miju. The old man with small eyes hanging high asked in a hoarse voice. He stood hunched over, giving the impression of a dead tree. Yuan has heard of this old man. Uchiha Setsuna, one of the fanatical followers of the old man. During the second Hokage period, Setsuna intended to incite the Uchiha clan to rebel and was imprisoned by Anbu. Yuan didn't know how this old man got out, and he even became the priest of Nanhi Shrine half a month ago. Jian Yuan ignored him, and smiled instantly. It seems that you don't know the old man yet. The old man might as well just say it straight. Toyama's Sharingan is very famous in the clan. Do you want to open your eyes? Yuan shook his head. He had prepared himself for the method of opening his eyes, and he didn't need the help of the old man Shanmo at all. You will always think about it. If you have an idea, you can find me at Nanhi Shrine. By the way, I might as well tell you. Sharingan is just the beginning of the power of the Uchiha clan, and there is still a greater power beyond that. The look of madness on Shumo's face was almost like those crazy preachers who lost their minds. Yuan held Setsuna's withered wrist that slapped him on the shoulder. When I have time, I will visit in person. After getting an affirmative answer, Shumo said hello repeatedly, turned and left. Seeing the back of the old man leaving, Yuan's eyes gradually became playful. Now, the dormant gene fusion ability has been awakened, and it would be too wasteful to fuse the Guyu Sharingan gene. After all, Sangoyu's Sharingan didn't greatly increase Yuan's strength. On the contrary, Uchiha Setsuna may have already opened the kaleidoscope. The gene of this crazy old man is worth trying. Not to mention. Yuan turned his head and saw Quan cautiously pushing open the door. Brother Yuan, has the old man finally left? He came to visit at home, which made Grandma very unhappy. Seeing the spring, Yuan smiled. He's gone, don't pay attention to this old man. Oh, okay, breakfast is ready, come in and eat. Well, I'll go to the bathroom first, and you and Grandma will eat first. Inside Nanga Shrine, after listening to Yatsushiro's talk about the battle on the training ground, Setsuna sneered. The old man was also watching from a distance at the time. Yadai, you have fallen into an illusion. Hearing this, Uchiha 8th generation Sangoyu Shulanyan appeared. Impossible, absolutely impossible. My eyes can see clearly. HMPH, it's not because your Sharingan is too weak. He opened his eyes with a sneer for a moment, and 6 symmetrical barbs scattered in his eyes. Look, this is the truth. After casting the illusion of scene reproduction to Yatsushiro, Setsuna looked solemn. He watched from afar while the police force was training. The young man named Yuan didn't even move a step. Dao Huo foolishly released Huodun and then gave up decadently. This is not an illusion that perfectly suppresses Sharingan, what is it? Setsuna thinks that Yuan is a good seedling. As for the family that Yuan lived in, he only knew about it not long ago. Although they are not Yuan's relatives, the relationship between them is enough to open Sharingan. Thinking of this, the moment subconsciously looked crazy. There are tribesmen who can use the illusion that crushes Guyu's Sharingan without opening their eyes, so what if they open their eyes? Setsuna firmly believes that Yuan is the tribe with the most potential. He is also someone who can inherit Madara-sama, and even his own will. Uchiha needs a tough leader. Therefore, Yuan must open his eyes. Ah, the truth turned out to be like this. After watching reappearance of the scene, Yadai's tone was complicated, interrupting the instant imagination, which made the old man of prey very unhappy. Master Setsuna, do you see the lines of Sharingan in your eyes as a power greater than that of Sangoyu? Yadai's Adam's apple rolled, and he asked nervously. This is the kaleidoscope Sharingan, an existence that surpasses the 3-hook jade. Fuyu, you, and those clansmen will be fooled by that boy Yuan, but the old man will not. Instantly said in disdain. Senior Setsuna, why are you so confident that you won't fall for my illusion? In front of Setsu, 8 generations, laughed and stood up. Nature is Yuan. After learning that the old man was a guest at home, Yuan decided to visit the crazy old man now. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.